Good evening, race fans, and welcome to coverage of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series live tonight from Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, and Braselton, Georgia. I am James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside Taylor Burris, and as always, our producer Cisco Scamusa up in the production trailer, punching all the buttons. And I think for the opening of this broadcast, Taylor, I'm going to turn to iRacing's executive producer, the in-house broadcaster, Drew Adamson, who I think may well just love Road Atlanta more than life itself. He's a native of the Atlanta area, but his theory is that every single car in iRacing runs well at Road Atlanta, not the least of which these 911 GTLM Porsches.
Of course, and this track is phenomenally well made. It's a track that has been around since a very long time. Home to, of course, one of the most famous sports car races, the 10 Hours of Petit Le Mans. I mean, who could not forget this track? This track is being used across many different sanctioning bodies, and it's always a blast to come out here and race at. I'm looking forward to seeing what these sportsmen and rookie drivers can do here at this track, but I know this for certain, it will provide a lot of excitement for tonight's race.
Should be very exciting, but also can be treacherous as well. We saw a lot of incidents in the final race of Series 3 at the end of November last year. A lot of folks just having to tiptoe around here. It's not necessarily the widest of tracks, and I think more importantly, there are a lot of corners here where you are off camber in the apex. A lot of cases where you really do have to be careful about where you get on throttle and corner exit, because if you get on it too early, you can stick yourself in trouble very easily and very quickly, much, I think, more so than you would see at your standard road course.
Of course, and one track quarter I'm going to be definitely watching is, of course, turn one. You feel like you can take that corner flat out, but you got to let the throttle breathe a little bit. You got to let that car coast to the corner in order to hit the apex to get that run off of turn one, to make your way down the S's, which are actually just as difficult as any other corner. But, of course, another one we need to keep an eye on is turn four, where you come out of the S's and make it down this long back straight, this first long straightaway here on the circuit. A lot of issues happened in this circuit. I've seen a lot of very well-known sim racers and professional drivers lose it in that section of the course. It's just going to be a matter of time of how well you input the throttle and brakes in order to make it over. Plus, watch out for that bump when you're coming off of turn four.
Big bump off of turn four as we take you to Google and we show you where we are in the world. We're about 30 minutes northeast of downtown Atlanta or midtown Atlanta. If you have a likening for the Varsity or Bobby Dodd Stadium or the World of Coca-Cola Centennial Olympic Park, we're not terribly far away from all that. We are, like you said, Taylor, at the annual home of Petit Le Mans. The season-ending race for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is here at Road Atlanta, a fantastic facility in the southeast that provides lots of great racing action. At this point, we're going to bring you through our starting grid. Jeff C. will set the fast time of 1 minute and 17.165 seconds. He's joined on the outside of the front row by Cliff Kerr, Colin Thomas, Michael Wassel, and Igor Soiker start in the top five. Sean Benet, Michael Cooper Smith, Trey Jawhorn, Joseph Stiffel, and Drew Kenny round out the top 10.
Starting at 11th is Cameron Leslie, followed by Bruce Robinson in 12th with Andrew Elsom in 13th. 14th goes to Brian Swift with Edward Nelson in the 15th position with Chris Duffy starting in 16th. James Sue is starting in 17th position with Christian Rava in 18th. Gregory Sampson in 19th, and rounding out your top 20, Aaron Nash.
20th through 25th are Patrick Joe, Rodney Campbell, Mike Knighton, Francois Grayling, and Paul Silk. 26th through 30th are Dwayne Croden, John D'Angelo, Henry Rogers, Randall Ayers, and Scott Nell.
31st is Shahad Katz, followed by Donald Binkley in 32nd. Jonathan Patterson in 33rd with Jody Papora in 34th with Russell Vanzilli in 35th. Brady McMacken is in 7th position with Kirk Cliffler in 38th. Ronald Cahill is in 39th. Rounding out your top 40 is Lance Wisley and Michael Clark.
Owen Pruden, James Bernard, Antonio Da Silva, Stephen Bukowski, and Brian Leary start 41st through 45th. 46th will be Ryan McGee. Lon Ray Sarubi starts 47. 48th will be John Kearney. Alex Hellier starts 49th. 50th will be Tyler Edwards.
Rounding out 51st through 56 will be Timothy Watson, Chris Cake, Brian Mosing, Gary Rice, and Jared Roadheaver, and then Brian Himmelman rounds out your 56 car field, an astounding group of drivers, and we're getting ready to turn them loose here for about an hour long at Road Atlanta.
It seems like every time we run here, we get another record for PCA. We get another record so far as the number of entries go as we take a look at the track facts here at Road Atlanta. This is Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, which is a 2.454 mile, 4.088 kilometer road course. Like we said, just north of Atlanta in Brazelton, Georgia, right up I-85. 12 turns here if you count the chicane. Turn 10 has an A and a B. We run in the morning. It's about 8:45 in the morning local time on iRacing Day, May 15th. 2020. Current air temp is 66 degrees. Track temp is 69 degrees. Winds to the north at 2 miles an hour. Humidity of 53%. So steadily climbing through the thermometers here. That'll rise as this race progresses and we work our way towards the morning. This race will go for 1 hour timed, and on the end of it we'll have winners in both the rookie class, those who are new to PCA Sim Racing this year, and the sportsman class for drivers with an I rating up to 1299. Taylor Burris, final thoughts before we go green.
Can we see Michael J. Wassel finally get an overall victory here tonight? That's probably one of the biggest questions. I mean, he's always started up on the front row just about every race we started here this season with the PCA Sportsman and Rookie Class divisions here. Can he be able to do that, or will treachery once again hit him to where he is not able to get a good top 5 finish? And then, of course, we have some other drivers, Trey Drawhorn, Jeff C. Of course, that battle we see between Igor Soiker and Joseph Stiffel. How long will that continue to rage on as we close into the second half of the season?
The battle we see, huh, Taylor? Right?
I see what you did there.
Right, exactly. Have to. Although I think it's worth noting that we've got some pretty good battles in points here, both in the rookie class and in the sportsman class. Brady McMacken leads Gary Rice and Lanre Sarumi in the rookie class, and the sportsman class, it's a little bit tighter. Igor Soiker and Joseph Stiffel come into tonight tied on 1,238 points. So the highest finisher of those two drivers will most likely leave Road Atlanta with the points lead going into the final 3 races at Sebring, Silverstone, and then the series finale at the end of the month, the final Friday night at Road America. So something to keep track of. If you're noting it, Soiker starts in the 5th spot. Joseph Stiffel is a little bit further back in this race. He'll start in the 9th spot, but both of them up in the fight. Lanre Sarumi starts a little bit further back in the field in 47th. Brady McMacken a little bit higher in 36th. But glad to have you with us here on the iRacing Esports Network as we get set for the green flag and we go racing from Road Atlanta and PCA Sim Racing, and that sportsman class is underway. They all stack up there by that very tight exit to the corner. Everybody continues to knife their way down the front straightaway. They all try and go single file as they come down into turn 1.
A lot of checkup indeed as they come out of turn 1. So far, nobody made any serious incidents as they look through turn 1. Now making their way down to the S's, who will come out on top. Still single file, but I believe Michael J. Wassel will pull out by about 3 to 4 car length lead.
Everybody all over the place here. Jeff C., your pole sitter, and he's got a little bit of a gap to the car next behind him, which is Colin Thomas, and C should have it, but here comes Cliff Kayer looking to the outside of Colin Thomas in that 23. Carolina and Allegheny regions fighting one another for that second position overall.
A great battle between Thomas and Kayer, and Igor Soiker and Michael J. Wassel now starting to get into the picture as they come down the long back straightaway here at Road Atlanta. A good opportunity to utilize the slipstream, try to see if they can make a pass to the inside before they get to turn 10. So we'll have to see what they can do. But right now that battle for second between Thomas and Kayer as they go down the back straightaway. Kayer look to the outside as they come downhill into the braking zone of turn 10A and 10B.
Jeff C. has absolutely left them out in front by 1.5, nearly 2 seconds now as they come through the chicane down the bottom of the hill, down that long back straight here to Road Atlanta for the first time. Thomas ahead of Kayer, ahead of Soiker, Wassel and Benet right there. Drew Kinney beginning to put the pressure on the 911 of Benet.
Great little battle between Benet as they are now working their way into turn 1, complete lap number 1 here at Road Atlanta. But Benet doing a great job of holding off Drew Kenny as they hit to the braking zone to go down into the S's, and it's pretty much stacked up from 2nd to about 7th on back. A great little battle right here.
7th or 8th on back, and you could even throw Trey Drawhorn out of the Chicago region right in the mix as well. A bit of a gap once you get to Cameron Leslie, but everybody's second on right there, and a bit of a stack up there. Here comes Sean Benet to the outside, looking for the spot over Igor Soiker.
He will try to go to the long way around as they go through turn number 5 and 6, and he will slot him up into 4th position after that mistake that we saw Soiker make coming off of turn number 4 to gain those positions, to take up a 2-for-1 for him as it goes down the back straightaway.
Really nice work there from Benet to get around Sawyer and company. Meanwhile, Kayer and Thomas still trying to run down Jeff C, who he really is taking off. He was faster by almost 2 seconds on that opening lap. In the meantime, though, Sawyer pressuring Benet. He wants that third spot back, or fourth spot back, rather, and then a really good battle through the chicane. Looks like that might be Michael Wassel, who's able to get ahead of Joseph Stiffel.
Yeah, he was able to hold off Joseph Stiffel. He was ahead of him until that incident he had in turn number 4, where he lost the positions to Igor Sawyer and Drew Kenny as they now come down the front straightaway into turn 1 and see if they continue on. But he has lost a lot of time to Drew Kenny in that number 47.
A little bit of time lost, not too much. Meanwhile, Cliff Kayer still pressuring Colin Thomas. You know about the battle between Benet and Sawyer. Kenny is starting to close in on this group as well, so he could be a factor if Benet and Sawyer start getting into it. Wassel now beginning to leave Stiffel and Drawhorn behind as there goes Sawyer looking to the inside. Kenny's going to have the opportunity here. Should be a big night for the Peach State region, the PCA. This their home track right in their backyard, so you know everybody in the Peach State region wanting to put on a good performance tonight. Kenny currently the fastest of that bunch. He's one of the Peach Staters in tonight's race, currently running in the 6th position.
He's doing a great job, ran a 1:20.5, so he's actually a little bit faster than Swaker that last time by, so let's see what he can do as he continues on down the back straightaway, tracking down the 18 of Igor Swaker.
A lot of action across the board here.
Battle for P2.
Battle for P2 indeed. Cliff Kayer got Colin Thomas there at the chicane in turns 10A, 10B. So you can move Kayer up to P2 now. Trying to chase down Jeff C, who was even faster that last time by. He comes across the line and throws down a 1:18.3. Kayer puts down a 1:18.6, but it's still almost a 4-second gap within the opening 3 laps here. Jeff C is absolutely flying around Road Atlanta in the opening stages of this race.
He's definitely put the practice in order to put on a good show for us here tonight in that number 41 Porsche 911 RSR as they're working their way up into turn 4. He is checked out on the rest of the field. Kayer's going to try to do something about it. He's picked up about 2/10 this time as they come down out of turn number 4 and head to turn 5.
Good stuff here all across the board. Kayer's begun to get Thomas, so the battle really starts with this 4th place group on back. Benet, Sawyer, Kenny, Wassel, Joseph Stiffel, Trey Drawhorn, everybody starting to get in the mix. Cameron Leslie, Bruce Robinson, Christian Rava, who's had a lot of speed in these PCA Sim Racing events, also beginning to make his presence known towards the front of this field. Maybe Kenny and Wassel, though, that might be the battle to watch coming down the chicane because Wassel's getting a pretty good show off the rear of the 47 911 GTL.
He's going to stay right behind him, though, as they go into turn 10. He didn't take a peek at all, unlike we saw with Igor Sawyer just up ahead of him. He took a peek, but could not. As we see Wassel get a little bit loose as they go underneath the Suzuki Bridge. This gives the opportunity for Joseph Stiffel to capitalize, but could not make it work as they come out of the final corner across the start-finish line.
Stiffel just ran out of room, I think, is the big issue, and that's the big problem there. It's such a tight corner, such a tight apex. Plus, it's off camera. There goes Stiffel wide, way off into the grass and into the tire barrier over by turn 1. So Joseph Stiffel sliding down the order as he slides back onto the racetrack, and he just overdrove the corner trying to get around Michael Wassel.
That's one of your championship contenders this season, and that was something he definitely did not need to happen. He takes the escape road to continue down through the S's, and more contact happens right there. He got in contact with, looks like Gregory Sampson. Nope, actually, that's Patrick Gill in the 111.
Stiffel still stuck down there at the bottom of the hill in the middle of the S's, waiting for his opportunity to merge on track. He's back to 22nd, 23rd, might be 24th, might be 25th. Before he finally gets back going on the racetrack. And the man who wanted to see, or maybe not necessarily wanted to see it, but will certainly not mind seeing all that happen in his rearview mirror, Igor Sawyer. Even though he's racing alongside Drew Kenny as they come down to the chicane, and he may well lose 5th here, Sawyer now becomes the points leader in that sportsman class with Stiffel's troubles.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for Sawyer to try to get every point ahead of Joseph Stiffel because of those troubles that Stiffel is having. He has to try to capitalize on that by just trying to bring the car home in one piece and get a good top 5, top 3 finish.
They continue to run here at Road Atlanta. Jeff C. already making quick work of his field. Owen Pruden's already a lap down. Cliff Kayer beginning to work some of the lap traffic as well. But you've got cars everywhere here at Road Atlanta. Friendly reminder, we had 56 cars on the grid, of which 51 are still on track.
I'm looking at the track map right now, and if I look correctly, I think we almost have the entire track covered with Porsches just about.
Pretty impressive. There's not really anywhere on this track where you've got room to breathe. That, I think, is the biggest thing of all. Cliff Kayer still trying to run down Jeff C, but he's still just matching lap times at best. But a big gaggle here. Here comes Sean Bonet. They work their way around lap traffic, and Igor Soiker is there. Drew Kenny is there. Michael Wassel is there. The lap car is Owen Pruden still in the 96. Wassel dives to the inside. Here comes Trey Drawhorn down towards the chicane.
He's going to try to take a look as they go down into the turn 10A and B section of the course. Sean Bonet goes off course. Give the position now to Igor Soiker now, as he will move up into 4th position and have to battle with Drew Kenny.
So Bonet makes the mistake, and now he slides back into the 9th spot. Soiker jumps up to 4th, and now he'll be the one who tries to set his sights on Colin Thomas. Meanwhile, Drew Kenny, the hometown driver here, the Peach Stater in the Peach State region's backyard, trying to put the pressure on Soiker to get that 4th spot away.
He's definitely trying to put the pressure on here. The hometown favorite is trying to get around Igor Soiker, but so far, Kid's not quite close enough as they go down through the S's up into turn number 4, and they're actually closing in on that 3rd place driver of Colin Thomas with the lap traffic helping.
Looking to watch the lap time, see where we stand as lap traffic begins to get in the way. Cliff Kayer's there. Colin Thomas trying to sneak his way around the lap car. That's Brian Leary that he's trying to sneak around. Igor Soiker, though, right there, as they couldn't get a good run out of that corner. Couldn't find a way to get around Leary, so Thomas stacks it up. Soiker might be able to get the draft, but same thing for Kenny, same thing for Wassel, same thing for Drawhorn, same thing maybe even for Cameron Leslie all the way back in 8th.
Yeah, a lot of different things that they have to negotiate and place their cars in the correct position in order to make these passes. Drew Kenny almost decided to run into the back bumper of one of the lap traffic's car here as they come through the turn 10A, 10B section underneath the Suzuki bridge, but Soiker has caught up to Colin Thomas with the help of the lap traffic. He will look to the inside as they come through the final corner. Almost just got his nose chopped off.
Trey Drawhorn's the one that's stuck behind the lap car there. Can't really figure out how to get around. And lap car, I think, is finally going to slow down and get out of the way coming into turn 1. Gets on the brakes there. Make sure that Drawhorn and Leslie and Bonet can continue on through this C. Still out in front, but for the first time, Cliff Kayer actually set the fastest lap time among some of the front drivers. And even then, Igor Soiker was even quicker. So lots of speed amongst these drivers in the top 10, but nothing completely crazy just yet, but they're not really hurting for space, I suppose, by comparison to some of these other drivers in this field.
Could not agree with you more on that. Actually, looking through the top 5, Drew Kenny set the fastest lap time with a 1:19.038. So a great run for the Peach State driver as he works his way down the back straightaway, keeping up with Igor Soiker and Colin Thomas and still negotiating through lap traffic.
Continuing to move through lap traffic, Thomas, Soiker, Kenny, Wassel, Drawhorn lost a lot of time working around the lap car and slipped about 3 seconds back with Wassel, who's had plenty of speed. He's an interesting one out of the Los Angeles region. Wassel, a driver who's had a lot of speed, but maybe not quite the consistency to put it together for a full hour. I think that's the challenge for the number 1, number 911. So you know he'd love to get that number 1 in P1 at the end of the day, but let's see what he can do here to try and keep it going all 60 minutes.
Well, let's see if he's able to hold on. Here comes Drew Kenny almost with a dive bomb to the inside of Igor Soiker into turn 1, but could not make it work as Soiker shut the door on him as they now head into the S's. And here comes Michael J. Wassel with a big head of steam as into the S's. Could not make it work, though. Down the S's they will go once again as we see Drew Kenny just poking and prodding, trying to find an opening, coming up to turn 4 where he has excelled at quite well and could not get the runoff there to catch up.
It got really tight there. Wassel tried to show the nose going into turn 2 and almost had the opportunity, actually turn 3, if we're going to be technical, but got on the brakes just in time to make sure that he didn't cause a penalty and get into Drew Kenny on corner entry. Would have sent Kenny flying through the S's and down into the grass, but opportunities to make the pass abound here if you want so. He's got plenty of speed on top of it. He's come from pretty poor start. In fairness, he got caught up in some of the madness coming down into turn 1, but has rebounded nicely. But Kenny in particular started 10th, currently running in the 5th spot. Not too many other drivers have made that kind of charge. The other one of note are the other 2. Christian Rava in the 88 started in 18th, currently runs in 8th. And then James Sue started in 17th, currently runs in the 11th position.
Great runs from these drivers early on here as they have completed 9 laps here at Road Atlanta, but the battle still rages on for the 4th position as Soiker will try to put the pressure on Colin Thomas as they go into the S's. Could not make it work. Has to back off just a little bit as they are trapped behind some lap traffic right now as they're heading into the downhill section of the S's while Drew Kenny looks on.
Drew Kenny waiting to see what Soiker does. Wassel in there too. It's 4 cars from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, trying to figure out where to go to navigate the lap traffic. It's Kurt Clifford that's right in front of Colin Thomas, and they'll all duck down to the inside, at least for the moment, but doesn't look like Clifford's got any room to roam here. So Drew Kenny now slides to the outside. Thought he'd have a run, and then he does get outside because Igor Soiker got loose coming back onto the back straightaway. So Kenny will jump ahead of Soiker, and it may well just be Michael Wassel taking that fist bond from Soiker.
He is definitely trying to take that position away from him now as they now work their way down towards turn 10A and 10B. And I think Jeff C might be having an issue right now. Is he on pit road or not? I'm trying to find out.
Jeff C did have an issue, and C has lost the lead to Cliff Kayer. Not totally certain what happened with C, but we'll find out here. He lost it coming into turn 3 on the last lap, slid around and got the brakes and ended up sliding off, and that allowed Cliff Kayer to take over the lead. So that's where C lost his lead, and Kayer is now in P1. C is slid back to P2, and he's only about 1.5 seconds in front of Colin Thomas in this group that's been fighting tooth and nail with Thomas, Drew Kenny, Igor Soiker, Michael Wassel, and Trey Drawhorn.
Yeah, so unexpected to see has happened for Jeff C. Cliff Kayer now moves up to the lead, but we're still watching closely that battle for that final step of the podium between Colin Thomas, Drew Kenny, Igor Soiker, and Michael J. Wassel.
Yeah, everybody all over the place here early on as we've got some good battles behind Trey Drawhorn too. Chris Duffy is right there. Bruce Robinson right on top of this. This is 7th, 8th, and 9th. Duffy all over the rear bumper of Drawhorn trying to find a way up into P7.
He is definitely putting on the pressure to Trey Drawhorn as they come out down the back straightaway. They will go, and we see Drawhorn able to pull a nice little gap over Chris Duffy in that 42 down the back straightaway. No lap traffic around, and so it's just between these 2 drivers alone, including Bruce Robinson and the 386, who's not too far. He's going to look to the outside as they head into turn 10.
Looking to the outside, we'll see if Duffy can hang on. Driving out of the Florida Citrus region, which covers the greater Orlando area. And then Bruce Robinson comes out of the northern Ohio region, which covers Cleveland and Erie. So Ohio v. Florida for P8 and P9 at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, one of my neighboring PCA club members running out there in that number 42, doing a great job so far as he comes out of turn number 1. Actually gains a little bit of time on Trey Drawhorn that time around. Just about 2/10 shy of the time he was running compared to Drawhorn as they work their way down through the S's, but the battle still rages on as Bruce Robinson has lost a little bit of ground.
Maybe more importantly, a note from race control. Trey Drawhorn will get the black flag for contact with Christian Rava on lap 10. Those two came together when we were watching some of the battles a little bit further up front in the field. So it looks like Drawhorn's going to have to come down pit road and serve a penalty for that incident, and he will subsequently fall out of the top 10. So Duffy will go to 7th, Robinson to 8th, James Sue to 9th, and Leslie will take over 10th. And we'll see where Trey Drawhorn drops back into the field when he comes off pit road.
James, I want to bring to note as we see our top 5 actually have to deal with oncoming traffic, almost contact there behind him.
Oh, big incident over the corner.
Colin Thomas.
3 or 4 cars lined up right by the chicane in turn 10. Kenny was coming through, and there was nothing I don't think he could have done. There's nothing I don't think anybody could have done because Brian Leary was stopped sideways on the racetrack and had just lost it on corner entry, trying to come back in. And as he tried to get going again, everybody tried to avoid him, and it was just nowhere to go for Drew Kenny, for Colin Thomas, Igor Soiker, Michael Wassel. So many cars caught up there in the chicane.
I will have to say, I think Brian Leary should have requested a tow on that. That was a very unsafe re-entry to the racetrack, and it took out a lot of great cars to watch for tonight's battle. So unfortunate for a lot of these heavy hitters. Drew Kenny got damaged. Of course, we did see a lot of other good drivers taken out of that. Jeff C. had some damage from that incident, and then, of course, I think the worst one out of it was Colin Thomas.
Larry, maybe not surprisingly, has been disqualified for that unsafe track re-entry. A pretty easy call from race control, especially given the drivers that were affected. That wasn't just, a battle mid-pack. That was, third, fourth, fifth drivers fighting for podium positions that got swept up. And yeah, in that case, definitely better to hold the brakes and just request the tow from that point if you're struggling and you see cars coming. And in fairness, I think that's going to be the case for a lot of these drivers, especially if you lose it coming into turn 10. There's not really any room to run off like you'd see in some of the other spots on this racetrack. So you can take a look at the mini-map and see just how congested traffic is at Road Atlanta. There is someone just about everywhere on this racetrack, so got to be careful. And I think Jim Hemmings said it in chat, the National Marketing Director for the Porsche Club of America. One of those cases where you just have to make sure you navigate live traffic because it's going to become a very key factor. And all this is Soiker's gone around. Igor Soiker's gone around in turn 3. We'll see what happened to Soiker in his 18. But same sort of deal, same sort of issue that Jeff C had where they just overcooked the corner in turn 3 a little bit, coming down to the S's, and Soiker got loose and had to loop it around. So he's got it back going again, but he's now back down to 12. And the man who takes advantage of all this, Michael Wassel, who's now up to second.
As we take a look at the replay, we do see Igor Soiker just loop it around, just overcooks the brakes just a hair, and just sends it around, losing a ton of position, valuable time, and also valuable points.
Valuable time, valuable points, and a lot of stuff going on all over the place here as Soiker now slides down the order. Makes me wonder where he is in comparison to Joseph Stiffel. That might be the biggest question that we need to figure out. Stiffel had that issue earlier on in the race. Is currently in 18th after all that madness. So Stiffel may have ended up better off because Soiker's now got more rear wing damage than Stiffel does.
Yeah, so it's going to be a matter of time to see how well they can manage it. And also, they still have a pit stop to go through, some of these drivers do. So we'll have to see what the pit stop strategy will be for them as well when that time runs around. So a lot of these drivers have to be careful. But for now, we do have a new top 5. Cliff Carrier race leader, followed by Michael J. Wassel second. Jeff C. dropped back to third with Drew Kenny in fourth. And Chris Duffy has now broken into the top 5.
Big night for Brady McMacken, I think. Long race Tarumi just pulled it behind the wall and I think is done for the evening. So McMacken should take a pretty sizable points lead going into Sebring as it stands. If he can knock out the rest of the shower in one piece, it might just be a survival game at this point. McMacken, though, with a pretty clean car, in fairness, and doing pretty well for himself, hanging out in 26, but I think it's just about making sure that you don't run into anybody and nearly gets turned. It does get turned. A little bit of contact coming out of the chicane. So commentators curse in full effect here as McMacken will find a safe place to loop it around and get back going.
And that was right in front of our overall race leader, Cliff Carrier, as well. So a close call for him as well. As we see the replay, we see McMacken just barely make contact and loop it around right in front of our overall race leader, Cliff Carrier.
As Cliff Carrier continues onward, and Michael Wassel will try and run him down in second, but it's now an 8-second lead for Wassel, and then about another 7 seconds, almost 8 seconds back now to Jeff C. And that's your first really good battle on track. Now as Jeff C. clips the curve a little bit, but he and Drew Kenny running third and fourth, and then Chris Duffy just goes wide in turn 3, so Bruce Robinson will take over fifth. James Sue is right there, ready to pounce if Robinson makes a mistake. Sue currently running in the 6th position.
Yeah, close call indeed. And right behind him, we see Gregory Sampson go around as he was trying to get around Chris Duffy. So Duffy will hold on to the 10th position now as they work out of turn number 4.
Robinson up front, but Sue putting on a pretty good charge, and you've got a lot of good drivers right behind this group, a pretty good tail of drivers here. Cameron Leslie is in this mix. Edward Nelson's done a nice job driving up from 15th to 9th. Christian Rava is back here as well.
Yeah, a lot of great battles right now. We're watching the battle with Bruce Robinson and James Sue as well as they're working their way down into the back straightaway of the course, heading into the turn 10A and B section. And as we see, will James Sue look to the inside? The answer will be yes. Side by side, they'll go into the braking zone. Move James Sue now up into the top 5 as they come out of the chicane underneath the Suzuki Bridge.
Nice shot for James Sue to get around Robinson. You may see Cameron Leslie do the same. Leslie's got a pretty stout 911, that 00, all decked out in the Valvoline colors. Almost looks like a birthday cake. May well be partying here if he can get around Robinson. Made the look on the inside of one, but couldn't carry the momentum, so he'll have to regroup. Maybe look for the next shot somewhere through the S's or back towards the hairpin at turn 6.
He's going to have to be careful because he got Christian Rava in the 88, not too far behind. About 4/10 separate the two drivers as they go down through the S's up into turn number 4. Let's see if they're able to negotiate that with lap traffic in front of them as well. The answer will be yes as they jump over the curbing down the straightaway before they head to turn 5.
Leslie's another one of those drivers from the Peach State region that covers the greater Atlanta area of the country so far as the PCA is concerned, so no surprise to see him up near the front of this field. Plenty of experience with Road Atlanta. Bruce Robinson up there. Christian Rava comes from the Suncoast region of the PCA, which covers the Tampa Bay area. So Florida, Georgia, Ohio, all in the mix here, all fighting for positions in a pretty solid battle towards the middle of the top 10.
Great solid battle indeed. Now as they head down into the chicane once again, can Robinson capitalize? No, he will not be able to respond this lap around as they come out of the chicane. Underneath the bridge they will go. And this area right here is a very interesting corner. You can carry a lot of speed, but have to be careful to set up for turn number 1 because it just comes at you so fast with those blind corners, so you never know what could be around him.
You have to be very careful here with the lap traffic. I don't think there's any question about that. As Sue now leads the pack ahead of Robinson. Leslie Rava trying to find a way around Leslie. He's putting plenty of pressure on the 00, but for the moment, Leslie's hanging on.
Yeah, he is, as we come around one of the lap traffic vehicles now working their way through the S's. Had to check up a little bit, Bruce Robinson did, which causes him to lose a little bit of ground as several cars are in the wall. They look like Mike Knighton as they came off of turn 4. But still, down this straightaway here, now we see Christian Rava putting the attack on Cameron Leslie as they head into turn 5. A little bit of lap traffic in front of them. Will he be able to capitalize on that? The answer will be no. They'll still be side by side.
Nothing, I think that, wow, Leslie just cut off Christian Rava. I didn't think there'd be room to pull it off, but Leslie kept that 00 and slammed the door right in front of the 88. But Rava will get the toe down the backstretch heading into turn 10 of the chicane. So this battle might not just be over yet. And let's not forget Edward Nelson, who's in the mix too. If either one of Leslie or Rava slip up, Nelson's right there to capitalize. Big move though from Rava. He'll outbrake Leslie, and Nelson tried to make it happen and then opened up the door for Chris Duffy to go alongside. So Duffy and Nelson will fight for 9th as Rava takes over 7th from Leslie.
Great battle indeed between the two drivers as they now come out of the final corner down into the front straightaway. But Duffy now recovering nicely and not too far behind is a Mr. Igor Soiker now. He's going to look to the inside of Duffy as they go into turn number 1, but can't quite make it work as they come out of turn number 1. Duffy will hold on to that 10th position as they come up to the top of the S's to make their way downhill.
Soiker, who bended here coming out of turn 3 and into the S's not too long ago, all of a sudden looks like he's charging back up to the field again. Doesn't look like it's too much of an issue for him, as we still are waiting to see what happens a little bit further up the field, and also waiting to see if Joseph Stiffel can continue his charge. He's up now at the 14th spot after his issues earlier on in this race, but that's the sort of pair you need to watch for, Soiker and Stiffel, who are about 12-13 seconds separated from one another on the racetrack.
Another thing we need to keep an eye on is the difference of time between Cliff Kerr and Michael J. Wassel. That gap is closing up. It was at 8 seconds last time we checked. Now it's down to 6.5 seconds. So Michael Wassel is definitely picking up the laps here. He ran a little bit faster that time by as they are now working their way through the field.
Also of note, James Sue is beginning to gap Bruce Robinson a bit. He's got some speed in that 48.911 GTLM, and Sue is beginning to close the gap on Drew Kenny and leave Robinson behind him, and Robinson may well fall in the clutches of Christian Rava as Drew Kenny becomes one of the first drivers in the top 10 in this race to come down pit road for service.
I think another driver also decided to come down pit road as well. I believe that was Edward Nelson as well, who decided to come down pit road. So a lot of our top 10, top 15 drivers are making their way down pit road as we see Joseph Stiffel stay out on the racetrack. I think Cliff Kerr, oh, there he is right there. Timing and scoring just had to adjust.
Igor Soiker comes down pit road. Edward Nelson is down. Francois Grayling comes down for service too. We'll see how much longer it takes for the rest of the top 10 to come down pit road, but the pit cycle is starting here at Road Atlanta.
Keep an eye on our race leaders right now. They're coming out underneath the Suzuki Bridge. Will they now respond? The answer will be yes. Cliff Care will come down pit road to get his car serviced. Watching for Wassel. Will he come down pit road and respond? The answer will be no. He's going to stay out an extra lap here at Road Atlanta. Jeff C. and James Sue now. They're approaching the turn 10 circuit of the course now as they work their way. Let's see if they will come down pit road. Jeff C. will. And James Sue is just coming out of turn 10. Underneath the bridge he will go. Will he come down pit road and respond to our race leaders? The answer will be yes. So Michael J. Wassel, currently out of the top 4, will be the one who will stay out this time around.
So Wassel stays out. K and C come in. James Sue leads that entire train in pit road. Sue, Robinson, Rava, Leslie, Duffy, all down pit road for service. Stiffel, though, will stay out, so he'll take over some of these spots for the time being.
He will. This could be a good strategy call for him in order to gain those lost positions that he had when he made that mistake early on in the race. So he will move up to the 2nd position along with Paul Sulk up to 3rd. So a couple of drivers are now up inside there, and let's see what they can accomplish as they now work their way through the field.
Stiffel just lost it, though, coming out of turn 1. He's sliding through the grass and stopped and is getting his car back going once again, but not for the first time tonight, as Joseph Stiffel lost it out of that opening corner and has slid his way down the pylon a little bit more. You'll see the replay on your screens momentarily. He just manages to get back on the racetrack, but turn 1's been a bit of an issue for Stiffel all night long.
Stiffel's Achilles heel is turn number 1 here at Road Atlanta. Let's see if he can try to find a way to capitalize on that, as now our race leader, Michael J. come down pit road to get his Porsche serviced here, and that will now give the lead back over to Cliff Care as soon as the pit stop cycles have been complete. Right now, Paul Sulk is currently still out on the racetrack, about 3 seconds ahead of Cliff Care.
So Sulk is the one that's going to be out there. Looks like Joseph Stiffel goes through the grass again, trying to not run into trouble with James Sue, just about. But now James Sue, Michael Coopersmith almost ran over Stiffel coming out of the hairpin on the back end of this racetrack. And Sulk will come down pit road this time too, so he'll give up 2nd as Wassel continues on the racetrack.
All right, big news. Michael J. Wassel just came out of pit road now, so he will now hold on to the race lead this time around and have, if it looks like the timing and scoring is correct, about a 15-second lead over Cliff Care. So Care has a lot of work to do now as we are closing in on that halfway point of tonight's race.
The answer here, I think, and the reason why Wassel's got such a big lead, no tires on the number 1 machine. It was a 6-second pit stop for Wassel, which to me suggests that he took fuel only, and then he goes up in turn 7 and stops it here in the middle of the racetrack, and it's going to take a tow. And I almost wonder if Wassel forgot to put enough fuel in it or tires or something, but he miscalculated somewhere, because now he pulls it off, and Cliff Care will assume the race lead once again.
That is a costly one. That tow will take about a good 2 minutes, just for a matter of fact. So that will put him multiple laps down here before it is all said and done. So unfortunate for Michael J. Wassel. Just like we talked about, he seems to have the speed, but just cannot get the consistency.
Same sort of issue we talked about all season for Michael Wassel. Speed is there, consistency is not just yet. He's got to find a way to fix that in the next few weeks. It is Care, then C, then Kenny, who's got P3 over Soiker. Christian Rava might be the one to watch in the second half of this race. We know Rava's had some speed in this series throughout the first few weeks. Bruce Robinson as well. If you're looking at cars in the top 10, Care and C have clean race cars, then Rava and Robinson do too.
Yeah, so a lot of good cars are still out on there that could contest for a podium finish here for tonight's race. So we'll have to see what Rava can do, along with Soiker, who's trying to work his way back up through the field after his incidents.
As we cross the halfway point of tonight's race, it's time to bring you our Midway Race Break, which is brought to you by Virtual Racing School. VRS is the official setup provider for PCA Sim Racing and is home to a variety of tools to help you become faster. Learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala, 3-time iRacing World Champion Martin Krumke, inaugural iRacing Rallycross Champion Mitchell DeYoung, and other top sim racers. Cliff Care is your leader over Jeff C., Drew Kenny, Igor Soiker, and Christian Rava, with 22 laps complete at Road Atlanta in this hour-long race. Bruce Robinson, Cameron Leslie, James Sue, Kristen Duffy, and Edward Nelson complete the top 10.
As they are now working through, actually going to have Paul Sulk in the 11th position, followed by Rodney Campbell in the 12th position. Trey Drawhorn is in 13th with Aaron Nash in 14th. Actually, now time is scoring, so it's now going to put Aaron Nash 13th. Sean Benet in the 14th position with Shahar Katz in 15th. Joseph Stiffel in the 16th position with Chris Duffy, Edward Nelson 17th to 18th. Donald Binkley in 19th. Rounding out your top 20, Jody Patpora.
Kirk Clifford runs in the 21st position. Stephen Bukowski, Patrick Gill, Russell Van Zyl, and Brady Mackin run 22nd through 25th. 26th is Alex Hellier. Then it's James Bernard, Gregory Sampson, Michael Wassel, and Jonathan Patterson running up to 30th.
Owen Pruden is in 31st with Ronald Cahill in 32nd with Dwayne Corin in 33rd. Actually, Ronald Cahill in 33rd. Brian Swift in 34th with Henry Rogers in 36th. Scott Nell in 36th with Antonio Da Silva in 37th. Colin Thomas in 38th. 39th, Lance Wisley. And John D'Angelo rounds out your top 40.
41st is Randall Ayers, John Kearney, 42nd, 43rd, Chris Craig, Tyler Edwards, 44th, and 45th, Timothy Watson. Then Brian McGee, Ron Sarumi, Brian Leary, Michael Coopersman, and Michael Clark running 46th through 50th.
51st is Andrew Elsom with Mike Knighton in 52nd. Brandon Jadot is in 53rd, and then Jared Roadheaver and Brian Mosing if they did not start the race.
And that concludes our VRS Midway Race Break. And for more information on Virtual Racing School, you can log on to virtualracingschool.com today. Care is your leader still. See in second. Good battles here between Cameron Leslie and James Sue up in the top 10. That's the best battle amongst the top 10 at this time. Pit stops really have begun to separate some of these drivers out.
It is a great battle indeed to see what they are able to do with not much time left on the clock, though, as we are a little over halfway, 26 minutes. Even though that may seem like a long time, with everything is going, everything can change within a blink of an eye.
Everything can change within the blink of an eye as Leslie trying to hold off Sue on the rear end. Sue, one of the Upper Canada region drivers that covers Toronto and the vast majority of the province of Ontario in Canada, and a region that's had a lot of presence in PCA Sim Racing in its first year of existence. We know about all the drivers on the steering committee, the David Stewarts, the Liam Renzitis that you'll see a little bit later on in tonight's program, but James Sue holding down the fort for UCR pretty well at this stage.
Yes, he is indeed. A great run for the number 48 as he's working his way, trying to catch up to Cameron Leslie. Still not close enough to make anything running for turn 10, but he is definitely going to give it his best as they work their way down the back straightaway still and now approach the turn 10 complex.
Cameron Leslie, the Peach Stater. We talked about him already a little bit tonight. Leslie just keeping Sue at bay for the moment, but a solid battle nonetheless between those two. You go a little bit further back, Leslie and company nearly ran into lap traffic coming out of the chicane.
A close call indeed for James Sue and Cameron Leslie, but they were able to overcome it now. Lap traffic has definitely been an interesting factor here tonight, so it makes you wonder how the next races will be once we get that underway with the pro and club class.
So Leslie and Sue both clear lap traffic there. You go a little bit further back, a few other good battles. Trey Drawhorn and Aaron Nash racing for the 12th spot. Same could be said about Sean Benet and Rodney Campbell. Those two racing for position as well. Beyond that, all about Cameron Leslie and James Sue. This is the battle to watch up towards the front of the field. Everybody else spaced out by about 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, great battle, though. We still have to keep an eye on is that James Sue, Cameron Leslie battle. But I'm looking throughout the field to see if any of the drivers who have worked their way up. Sean Benet, as you brought out, he had an incident early in the race. He's worked his way up into the top 15, doing a great job of recovering now and see if he can be able to hold on. But right now, Cliff Kerr has checked out on the field, 11 seconds over Jeff C.
Jeff C has some speed at the beginning of this race. The man who started on pole. This is flip-flop with Cliff Kerr. And C out of the high desert region of the PCA. Way up as you go to northeast to Oregon. Anything from Bend and up northeast towards the state border, that's where you'll find the high desert region of the PCA. And Jeff C's home, and then Cliff Kerr, one of the Carolina region members of the PCA. The Carolina region stretching through The Piedmont of North Carolina and South Carolina. It covers Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point, Charlotte, and then Greenville and Spartanburg. So anybody in those locales, Cliff K are representing your region very, very well at this stage.
He is doing a great job indeed, Cliff Care is, as he is just pulled out from everyone on the field now. So it's only going to be a matter of time to see what he can do.
Only a matter of time to see just how quickly Cliff Care, I think, can run through this lap traffic. But Leslie and Sue, still the best battle here. Stifel and Katz now on a pretty good one, too. A little bit further back, 16th and 17th. Might be worth checking in. As Joseph Stifel had another incident off track that slid him further down the order. So consistency issues tonight for the 003 machine, but still a decent run and okay with it. I think he will be on some level, but it's going to be problematic when you got Igor Soiker that you're battling head to head in the points up ahead of you on the pylon by about 13 spots. So Stifel, I think, will probably want to try and run down at least a few of these drivers to minimize the damage and play damage control going into Sebring next week.
He's going to have to try his best to do that. There's not a lot of, he's got not only a few positions to try to catch up, but he still has a lot of work to do before the time runs out here at Road Atlanta. So we'll have to see if he's able to recover that. But right now, Soiker in the best position. He just has to keep that car clean.
Soiker has to keep the car clean as best he can. He's got a podium almost in bag, but here's the problem, Taylor Burris. Guess who's coming on in the number 88? He's only about maybe a second and a half back, and he was faster by 6/1000ths that last time by. Christian Rava in the 88 machine is right there, ready to pounce if Soiker makes a mistake.
He is definitely blocking up the front tires a lot here, especially through that turn 6 section as he goes down the back straightaway, losing a ton of time now to catch up to Jeff C. This gives the opportunity for Christian Rava to try to capitalize on. He's only about 1.8 back, but still showing a little bit of consistency compared to Igor Soiker.
So Igor Soiker here, ready to rock and roll in that third spot as he works his way around lap traffic one more time. They come through the chicane. Otherwise, Leslie has maintained his spot over James Sue, but it's still pretty tight, still within a second. Ed Nelson there ahead of Trey Drawhorn a little bit further back as well. That's 11th and 12th. Another good battle, but everybody just sort of minding their business at this point. I think we've settled into the point where you're pretty heavily into a rhythm with about 20 minutes to go here. No matter where you are on the racetrack, and you just want to make sure that you don't get in anybody else's way. I think that's the biggest thing.
That is going to be the biggest thing, trying to just stay out of everybody's way and trying to run the track. Of course, here with lap traffic here, that's going to seem to be the biggest problem for a lot of these competitors, especially those on the lead lap, trying to negotiate this lap traffic, as we see Soiker now having to negotiate about 4 different cars as he goes down this straightaway into turn number 5.
Soiker having to work with all the lap traffic there. That'll, I would say, help Christian Rava, but Rava's got to make sure he gets around the lap traffic himself, and there's not really anywhere for him to go during the hairpin and through the hairpin, so Soiker making a breather, might get the chance to stretch this lead out a little bit. Might be worth turning our attention back to Ed Nelson and Trey Drawhorn, because that, all of a sudden, has become the closest battle on track. This is for 11th and 12th. Nelson has it, Drawhorn wants it.
He's going to try everything that he can as they come into turn 6. Drawhorn now definitely putting the power on as they come out of turn 6 down the back straightaway, but it's still Edward Nelson pulling away just by a little bit, and not too far off the road either is Paul Silk. So we have about a 3-car battle for the final spot in the top 10 as they go down the back straightaway.
A really, really good battle for that final top 10 stop. Paul Solk is there at Ed Nelson now. He's right on the heels of Paul Solk as lap traffic gets in the way. Solk has nowhere to go, so it's a 3-car battle for 10th, 11th, and 12th.
A great battle indeed. Wanted to go make a quick little mention to our rookie class leader, Kirk Clifford, who's running 20th overall, but still has the rookie class lead. So doing a great job here tonight as I have a big incident going into turn 1. As we see that battle between Drawhorn, he was getting around Edward Nelson. He might be able to take that position now as they go into the S's.
And Paul Solk just drove straight off there. Almost wonder if there might have been an equipment malfunction with Solk's machine, because he just did not stop going into the corner. Everything just went dead on straight. It's now Drawhorn who's jumped ahead of Nelson and then into that final spot in 10th. Meanwhile, Chris Duffy, James Sue in trouble. James Sue has stopped. He's gone around at the end of the hairpin, coming out onto the back straightaway and is stuck. And now it's his turn to lose all that time in that track position as he goes around and finally gets it back going, but not before he picks it back up at the 12th position.
A lot of time lost for James Su, who was having a great run here tonight, and now we'll have to see what he can accomplish with a little bit of time left, under 20 minutes to go, but still has to now gain back all that time that he's gained.
So James Su goes around and is in trouble. Trey Drawhorn is the beneficiary. Chris Duffy is slow, and I think he had an issue coming out of the Suzuki Bridge coming through 11 and 12, so he's going to lose some time, gets it back going, but now here comes Trey Drawhorn with the charge. He slides behind Francois Grayling, who has had a very quiet, composed race. I must say, we haven't said Grayling's name much. There's a little bit of damage, I think, to the left front of that 14.911 RSR, but Grayling with a really stout race. He's all the way up into 7th after starting in 24th position. Our Charger Award would be his if the race ended right now.
A great run indeed for Francois Grayling, who's been definitely just quiet, not causing any issues, not making a whole lot of noise, just picking them off one by one, working their way around lap traffic. So a great run for the number 14 Porsche.
Really good stuff from Grayling. Drive out of the Gold Coast region of the PCA, which covers South Florida, Miami, Palm Beach, Key West, Homestead. If you're anywhere in that stretch, you slide right down through there. That's the Gold Coast region of the PCA. Francois Grayling carrying the banner for that region tonight, doing a great job up in P7. Trey Drawhorn still ahead of Ed Nelson, and he's starting to gap Ed Nelson. Drawhorn now already almost a second ahead of the 6th car.
He's going to see what he can do. Edward Nelson, though, has definitely been having a great run so far, even with that little incident that he had early on between him and Drawhorn, along with Paul Sulk.
Paul Sulk, who had that issue off in turn 1 and ended up in trouble. He's got the car going again, but all the way back in 28th and is stuck on pit road trying to get the car fixed up. Meanwhile, Drawhorn beginning to knife his way through the lap traffic through the S's. Chris Duffy is right up the road with more damage than usual, so Drawhorn may be pressing the issue on the 42, who himself is not that far back of Francois Grayling for the 7th spot. So you got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all within about 3 seconds of one another, with just under 17 minutes to go in this race.
17 minutes to go. A lot can happen here tonight, but still, we're watching closely that battle from 7th on back, and it's still Francois Grayling holding off Chris Duffy, who is putting the pressure on and has caught up. But Chris Duffy, though, has a lot of damage to that Porsche. I don't know if he's able to work it down the straightaway.
He's gaining on Grayling, though. There's no doubt about that. Drawhorn's beginning to close the gap, too. But Duffy actually got a better run out of the corner than Grayling did. So I figured this might be Grayling being the more conservative driver, Duffy probably letting it go for broke. And one of those cases where on the straightaway, Grayling might be making sure that he's still got a car to run with at the end of this. Duffy might just be going for it all. And in the process, might be running down Grayling just a little bit here.
He's going to do everything that he can right now as they come down the straightaway into turn number 1. And still Duffy cannot catch up right now as they come up to the S's.
Duffy can't catch him yet, but they're closing it ever so slightly. And Drawhorn's right there, too. Everybody coming together towards the end of this race in 7th and 8th, 9th, 10th. No real battles amongst the first 6 drivers, by the way. They've all sort of checked out amongst one another. So all eyes here as Drawhorn is now all over Duffy for 8th.
He is all over the back bumper now as they go down into turn number 5. Duffy was able to hold off outbraking Trey Drawhorn as they go up into turn number 6. Drawhorn tries everything that he can to try to get to the inside, but cannot make it work as they come out of turn 6 down the back straightaway.
And as they come down the back straightaway, I believe, Taylor Burris, we're not near water, we're not anywhere lake. We got some hills, though. Maybe we can make him a woodland man tonight, but if you would do us the honors here and call upon our favorite feathered friend.
Of course, we can make him a woodland duck tonight. How about that? So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to cue the truck.
As we bring you tonight's trivia question, we'll bring you an answer here a little bit later on in tonight's broadcast. But a simple question for you, which actually is very pertinent to Road Atlanta, as Drawhorn goes underneath Chris Duffy to get the 8th spot. Which motorsports series held their first ever round of competition at Road Atlanta in the 2000s? Might not necessarily be the answer that you expect, but one of
It's a
those
good
cases.
one.
Yeah, it is a good one. So, yeah, think about that. We'll see what you expect here, and we'll see what your answers are. But a maybe underrated series, I think, shall we say, responsible for putting together the opening round of competition ever at Road Atlanta in the 2000s. And one of those cases where you'll just have to make sure you pay attention later on this evening, because we'll bring the answer in our pro race and our club race, which will follow directly after this. And don't go anywhere. We've got an entire extra race beyond all this. We'll get back to it.
A lot of great racing action as we still see that battle between Trey Drawhorn, Chris Duffy, as well as Francois Grayling as they come out of the turn 10A and 10B section of the course. Underneath the Suzuki Bridge, they will go once again as they have now run about 34 laps here at Road Atlanta. Not a lot of time left. Laps are winding down, under 15 minutes to go, but now we see Drawhorn take a look to the inside, but Duffy shuts the door. But here comes Drawhorn. He will make the pass through turn one. Just manhandle him around through turn number one as they come up to the top of the S's. I gotta say, Drawhorn made a bold move in there.
We know the Drawhorn clan will go nuts on that one, and there was no denying Trey Drawhorn in that particular case. He just sent it right into Chris Duffy, and Duffy didn't even have time to react as Drawhorn will take over the 8th spot. Francois Grayling is just up the road here, and Drawhorn may be in contention to get that 7th spot because he's been outrunning Grayling the last few laps, and he's right there already as they try and work around the lap traffic. Nearly get the door shut on the lap car between the lap car and Francois Grayling, and Grayling goes around. So Drawhorn will take over 7th, but Grayling, a tough break for the number 14 machine. He just got turned by the lap car coming out of the hairpin onto the back straightaway. And Grayling will rejoin the track in 12th.
Unfortunate for Francois Grayling. He was having such a good run, was kind of pulling to see if he can get a good top 10 run, but also now as they work their way through the turn 10 circuit at Road Atlanta underneath the Suzuki Bridge, I mean, it's unfortunate, and we was just saying Francois did not have a whole lot of damage, and there we see lap traffic being a factor here.
And still not a lot of damage. It wasn't huge contact with Grayling, but just the fact that he got sent around and dropped back into the 12th spot, a shame, and yet sort of indicative of the way this race has gone for a lot of those top drivers, where they've run into lap traffic in some way, shape, or form. And I almost think that we talked about some tracks where it's more about racing the track than it is the traffic. Tonight, I think it's been the opposite. It's been trying to navigate the traffic as best you can.
It is indeed. I think traffic has been actually more treacherous than the track itself here at Road Atlanta for most of these drivers.
As Trey Drawhorn now runs in 7th and is now setting his sights on Bruce Robinson. It's been a nice charge at the end of this race for Drawhorn in the 395. Up at the front, though, Cliff K are still in control of this, and everybody in the top 5 really well locked into their spots. So the battle you want to watch right here, Robinson, Drawhorn, 6th and 7th on the racetrack as they come towards the chicane.
Let's see what we can do. He can do now as he works our way down into turn 10. We see Drawhorn trying to work his way around Bruce Robinson to move him up to 6th position, and he will complete the pass.
Never a question. Great pace here for Trey Drawhorn in the final few minutes of this race. He's got about another 5 seconds to go run down Cameron Leslie for the 5th spot, but I won't totally rule it out. Through a blistering 1:18.8. It was the fastest lap in the top 10 outside of the man directly behind him, Chris Duffy, but that whole group there, Drawhorn and Duffy and Nash, all setting some really fast lap times across the field.
Indeed, a lot of great lap times currently on the field right now as we see Drawhorn actually running some of the fastest lap times currently out of the top 10. Ran a 1:18.82. The only other driver who might even come close to that is probably Aaron Nash with a 1:18.22. So those two drivers, some of the fastest drivers out on circuit right now. But Cliff Kerr, I tell you what, he's lost a ton of ground. He's losing time actually to Jeff C.
Meanwhile, Bruce Robinson locked it up on the exit of the hairpin, so there's the door open for Chris Duffy to make that run down the long back straightaway towards 10A, 10B. The chicane is right there for Duffy's taking. If he nails his entry, gets on the brakes, and outruns the 386. And here comes Aaron Nash right there behind Chris Duffy in the 42. They go side by side into the chicane, and Duffy will let up for the moment. Oh, he almost made contact with Bruce Robinson. And now here comes Nash to the inside of Duffy looking for 8th.
He's going to try everything that he can, but we're still having to see what he can accomplish now as Duffy is definitely putting the pressure on Edward Nelson.
So there goes Duffy to the outside, Nash to the inside as they go wheel to wheel through turn one, and Duffy couldn't really do much there. Nash had to take the position over, and Robinson gets a breather, but not for long because here comes Aaron Nash trying to work his way around the 386.
Here they come. The 386 of Bruce Robinson now is working his way up through the field once again after that incident that he had. Now trying to get away from Aaron Nash and Chris Duffy as they come out of turn number 4, working through lap traffic.
Everybody working through lap traffic. Bruce Robinson, Aaron Nash, Chris Duffy, all nose to tail. Trey Drawhorn, incidentally, out in front of this battle by 3 seconds already, and he's closed the gap down from about 6 seconds to 4 to Cameron Leslie. So watch that 395. He may well have a top 5 in hand before too long.
He's going to try everything that he can as Nash will go to the inside of Bruce Robinson. Side by side, they will go down back straightaway. Who will come out on top now as they work their way through into turn number 10? Into the braking zone they will go. Give the position to Nash, but here comes Robinson on the attack. Could not make it work, though. Move Aaron Nash up to 7th.
Really nice job from Nash. He took the inside of that first part of the chicane, which is what Duffy didn't do. Duffy went to the outside to try and set himself up on the inside on exit, but he couldn't clear Robinson to begin with. And that was all the room Nash needed to take over both spots. So Nash now up into 7th, and here comes Chris Duffy, who finally will make the pass on Bruce Robinson and send Robinson back to 9th, Duffy to 8th, Nash to 7th as they all work to catch Trey Drawhorn, who's got it down to within 3 seconds and change. He is charging and coming after Cameron Leslie.
He is definitely coming after Cameron Leslie, just picking him up and putting him down as far as the lap times go. As we see Drawhorn working his way into turn 5, a couple of cars, so smoking up ahead of him, so he has to try to get around them quickly as possible to not cause any incidents for him, but he's able to make short work of them as they come out of turn number 6 down the back straightaway.
Everybody all over the place, some of the lap traffic, some of the broken cars here, trying to at least limp back the pit road, but it's now down to 3.2 seconds as Leslie actually is gaining a bit on Cameron Rava himself, but Trey Drawhorn is charging. There is no question about it.
Could we see the famous Trey Drawhorn get another good top 5 finish here at Road Atlanta? Will be exciting. I'm pretty sure all the fans of Trey Drawhorn would love to see this happen.
2.3 seconds now. He chopped it down big time coming through 10 and 11 that last time by. It's beginning to almost be more of a formality at this point. I almost think within the next lap or two, we may well see Trey Drawhorn start to put the moves on Cameron Leslie.
He is definitely trying to put the moves on Cameron Leslie and catch up to him. He's now down to 1.9 seconds. Now a little bit, probably lost a little ground with lap traffic. Now up to 2.2 seconds as they come out of turn 4. He's going to try to get a big run off of there. He will be able to gain some ground as he works his way down the straight.
Just the lap traffic of Kirk Clifford in the way between Leslie and Drawhorn, and even then, Drawhorn just unable to keep Leslie at bay for the moment, but not all that much. As I think Leslie, might have found some breathing room, a little bit of space now on the track for the 00 to operate, but a lot of lap traffic in the way to make this a little bit more complicated and interesting in the final 5 minutes.
Well, it just makes it all around exciting for us to enjoy and call this race for all the viewers out here tonight, watching these Porsches battle it out here at Road Atlanta as they are now 5.5 minutes left on the clock. Drawhorn trying to give every ounce that he can of power to catch back up to Cameron Leslie to break into the top 5 as he tried to work around lap traffic as it comes out of the final corner. A big head of steam to get around lap traffic as he goes to the inside before they get into turn 1.
Got a really good run there to clear the lap traffic. It was Kirk Clifford that he just managed to sneak around, and now Cameron Leslie is the very next car up the racetrack for Trey Drawhorn. A little bit of lap traffic in the form of Gregory Sampson ahead of Leslie, but now you have to believe the charge really is going to be on because Drawhorn can see Leslie coming up the hill out of the S's.
Trying to see some things going on right now here. I don't see if Cliff Cares. Yes, Cliff Cares still your race leader, but not too far up the road. Actually, Jeff C has caught up a little bit more with him as well. Now down to 4.6 seconds, so lap traffic definitely coming into play for the battle for the lead, possibly.
Maybe a little bit. We'll see if it changes anything. Meanwhile, Bruce Robinson was able to get back around Aaron Nash for 8th and Chris Duffy.
Oh, in big trouble for Jeff C. He just went off course and made contact with another Porsche. Had to get the replay on that, as it looks like one of the Porsche just slid to the track and just barely clipped, almost got in front of him and did not clip him. He had to cut through one of the grass areas in order to avoid the contact.
It was nearly a big moment for Jeff C, but thankfully for his sake, not actually a big moment for Jeff C. As we turn our eyes back to the charge here between Leslie and Drawhorn. You see a lot of the lap traffic coming into play, but Drawhorn has continued to bring this gap down. It's now 1.4 seconds that Drawhorn has to go catch that 00.
He is going to give it everything that he has left as we still watch the battle between the two drivers. Drawhorn has definitely caught up to the back bumper of Cameron Leslie. He is definitely working his way up to it as they come up through turn number 4.
Big run up through the S's, up the hill, back towards 6 and 7. The hairpin combo as they continue to work their way around Road Atlanta. Now down to 3.5 minutes on the clock. Drawhorn makes good with that clearing of the lap traffic. Leslie's the next car out the road. It's back up to 2 seconds. He lost a little bit of time there, but Drawhorn's got the speed. It's just a matter of whether or not he's got the time.
That's the biggest question right now for a lot of these drivers of trying to gain time and position on the rest of their competitors is the time left on the clock. 3 minutes left to go now as they are now working their way through the lap traffic. Cameron Leslie now starting to pull a little bit ahead of from Trey Drawhorn, now up to 2.1 seconds.
Trey Drawhorn there trying best he can. Meanwhile, Chris Duffy and Aaron Nash have both got around Robinson. So McCready Igor Soiker, though, comes down pit road for service, so Soiker going to have to stop and maybe get a little bit more fuel right at the end of this, and that will drop him back towards Joseph Stiffel. Those two fighting for the lead in the sportsman class in the point standing. So now Cameron Leslie's got 4th.
So Soiker might be saved by this due to the fact Stiffel is a lap down, so Soiker now just has to try to bring it home.
Success to bring it home is Chris Duffy, Aaron Nash right there together with each other. Nash now ahead of Duffy, and Drawhorn well ahead of all this at this stage. It's now 5 seconds between this group, but Nash and Duffy the best battle, and then a little bit further back, Igor Soiker, Bruce Robinson there, a lap car right in the mix.
Joseph
Stiffel in the 15. So maybe not exactly the lap car you want around you, because you know Stiffel's got the pace to hang with you in most cases.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting to see Soiker now seeing Stiffel ahead of him, but realizing Stiffel is a lap down, so not really having to worry about it. He's just got to finish inside that top 10 in order to get this good finish and get the points that he needs to keep the position.
Meanwhile, might have to start watching Cliff Kayer here, who's on the back straightaway and will not cross the start-finish line in the next 15 seconds. So white flag is going to come next lap for Cliff Kayer, and he's got a 4.5-second lead on Jeff C to take home the overall victory in the Rookie and Sportsman race of Round 5 of PCA Sim Racing at Road Atlanta.
As they work their way through this vow to 1 minute left to go on the clock. Can Soiker do anything to try to catch back up to Chris Duffy? He's got about 2 seconds ahead behind him, so anything is possible. A lot of lap traffic in front of him as well, in front of Duffy, as they work their way down through the S's.
All eyes on Cliff Kayer, who comes underneath the Suzuki Bridge out of turn 12 and down the front straightaway. White flag for Cliff Kayer. One more time around until he picks up victory at Road Atlanta. He's just got to keep it clean. Jeff closed it down a little bit, but not enough just yet to get alongside that 008.
Close call for Igor Soiker and Joseph Stiffel. Lap traffic once again into play, because I know there was a lot of contact between the two drivers that caused them almost to take out both Soiker and Stiffel.
Really close stuff there as Kayer and C continue to shuffle around the racetrack. And then Christian Rava with a nice job in third. We want to talk about drivers who have kept their nose clean and really have been the bellwether for lack of incidents across the race. 18th to 3rd for Christian Rava. No doubt he's got plenty of talent and speed in PCA Sim Racing.
He does. I can't wait to see what he can do in these final 4 races.
As Cliff Kayer works his way down the long back straightaway. It's a few more corners left for Kayer to get the job done. Looks like Trey Drawhorn's going to run out of time to get to Cameron Leslie, but still a top 5 finish for the 395 as Kayer works his way through the chicane with ease, comes back up to the top of the hill under the Suzuki Bridge through turns 11 and 12, and Cliff Kayer will come across the start-finish line to win Round 5 of PCA Sim Racing at Road Atlanta. Series 4, Round 5 goes to Kayer. Then Jeff C comes home in P2, and Christian Rava is fighting About 30 seconds back at the racetrack to lock down the final podium spot.
What a drive for Cliff Kayers to take home the checker flag in what I would call a dominating performance for him tonight. And this is something that he needed in order to work his way up through the point standing. He's had some good runs, but I think this takes the cake for the 008.
Really good stuff for Christian Rava tonight as he will come across the line, round out the podium, and snag P3 overall here in the Sportsman and Rookie race for PCA Sim Racing Series 4. Really good stuff from Rava. Well, a reminder that even though this race is over, we've got another race coming right up as the best of the best in PCA Sim Racing will go at it in our club and pro race, which you'll see on the other side of our upcoming commercial break. We're going to bring home some of the final finishers and tell you where your favorite driver finished. Should we tell you where your favorite driver finished? It was Cliff Kerr ahead of Jeff C. and Christian Rava. Cameron Leslie and Trey Jawhorn rounded out the top 5. Aaron Nash, Chris Duffy, Bruce Robinson, Igor Soiker, and Sean Benet finished in 10th.
Rounding in 11th position is Francois Grayling, followed by Shahar Katz in 12th, with Edward Nelson in 13th. 14th is Michael J. Wassel with Joseph Stiffel in the 15th. First car 2 laps down in 16th. Donald Binkley with Gregory Sampson in 17th. 18th, Paul Solk. 19th is Russell Van Ziel. And then rounding out your top 20, Stephen Bukowski.
Rodney Campbell finished in the 21st spot. 22nd was James Bedard. Jody Podper, Kirk Clifford, and Alex Hellier finished 23rd through 25th. And it was Dwayne Cronin, Patrick Gill, Owen Pruden, Brian Swift, and Scott Nell who finished in 30th.
Brady McMacken is coming home in 31st position with Colin Thomas in 32nd. James Sue in 33rd with Ronald Cahill in 34th. John Kearney will be coming home in 35th with Lance Wilsley in 36th. Jonathan Patterson in 37th. Timothy Watson in 38th. 39th, Michael Coppersmith. And rounding out your top 40, Chris Trigg.
It was Drew Kenny, Henry Rogers, Randall Ayers, Antonio Da Silva, and Ryan McGee, who finished 41st through 45th. And John D'Angelo, Tyler Edwards, Brian Leary, Lonray Cerulli, and Michael Clark, who finished in 50th.
51st goes to Andrew Elsom, and rounding out your 52-car field that started the race, Mike Knighton. We now turn your attention to the top man in tonight's race, Cliff Kerr, back in victory lane at Road Atlanta once again. And we made the point during the broadcast, there are some races in PCA Sim Racing where you have to race the track, other races where you have to race the traffic. We would guess that tonight fell in the latter category. How was it just navigating the lap traffic here at Road Atlanta, and how tricky was that in addition to nailing your points at the racetrack?
It was rough, actually. There was a lot of traffic tonight, but overall, there's a lot of communication, so I think it went pretty well. Team LTFB again in first and second, and so teammates pushing each other awful hard. It's been fantastic.
I was about to say that the LTFB boys have all of a sudden put down a pretty strong stronghold on the sportsman and rookie races in the series. So, Sebring up next week. How do you go 3 for 3?
I don't know about that. I love Sebring, but that's a tough course, and Jeff is ultra fast there at Sebring, so it's going to be a heck of a run. And then, we still got Wazzle and Sean Benet. They're ultra fast as well, so it's going to be interesting. I got to do some practice, that's for certain.
Well, I know there are a lot of people that make it happen for you, not least of which the shared Carolina region that the two of us call home. But who else makes it happen for you, Cliff?
Well, I got to say it's my team, LTFB. They're always pushing on us, and then a whole lot of patience by the wife to allow me to continue to race. So it's all good. Thank you very much for putting this on. We're having a great time.
Well, congratulations on another victory, Cliff. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. We'll see you down in Florida next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Cliff Kerr comes home in P1. Jeff C. comes in P2 from the complete opposite side of the country, and he is with Taylor Burris.
Here with Jeff C. coming home with the top 2 finish here tonight at Road Atlanta. Jeff, you had a great start, had a couple of close calls, but definitely came out with a second-place finish. Tell us about how your race was.
It was pretty good. I had been practicing all week on trying to keep as clean as possible. Unfortunately, I kind of had a little off there at the kink, I think, turn 2, which put me a little bit back. And then, of course, just getting through the traffic was was pretty rough, but I certainly had some pace, I think, to do a little better. But you know what? I'm pretty satisfied with where I'm at.
Well, before we let you go, who would you like to thank to help you race from week to week?
Just the team for just keep pushing me, and the rest of my PCA racers, as well as you guys over at esports, and then the PCA and those that are doing all the drivers coordinating and everything. So it's just a great job for everybody.
All right. Well, congratulations on finishing second here tonight, Jeff, and we look forward to seeing you at the next round.
Thank you so much.
Jeff C comes home P2. We now turn our attention to Christian Rava, who finished in the third position. And Christian comes in here with a big night tonight. And Christian, I think the consistency, that's what stands out to me about this run. There were so many drivers who had issues, who ran off track, who ended up in some sort of trouble. And you, I think, far and away, outside of Cliff, had the cleanest run of the night with all the traffic, with all the cars, with the trickiness of this circuit. How'd you do it?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me? It was a miracle, to be honest. Wednesday night in our prelude race, it was a little more hectic than tonight, but I was just going to be happy with the top 10, to be honest, and it just worked out well and just kept trucking along. Had a couple incidents with some lap cars, but other than that, it was a really good race, clean race, and I really enjoyed it.
I think the biggest thing is that you managed to stay incident free for the most part outside of everybody who had trouble. I think one of the very few in this race that came out with a small amount of incident points in this total. I think it was maybe 7, which was about as low as you saw in the top 10. So how did you find a way around all the lap traffic and through this racetrack to come away with P3 and not end up in trouble like everybody else seemed to around you?
Yeah, so I view these races, 45-minute, 60-minute races. It's not going to be won in the first 5 or 10 minutes. So I just be patient, just try to be consistent. And if there's faster guys that are coming up behind me, I let them go because chances are there's going to be attrition and somebody's going to go off or have an incident, and I'll gain that position back. And if not, that's okay too. I'd rather stay on the course, be consistent, and that's what I'd rather do and try and win that way.
You got good points. You get an interview out of it. I know there are a lot of people that make it happen for you down in the Suncoast region of the PCA. Who do you need to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Yeah, just some of my buddies that are in PCA here in Suncoast, obviously everybody in Suncoast, and Jason Lisner, who's racing next. He and I have been practicing a lot, and a couple other guys, and then my followers on Twitch that are watching me and give me advice as we're going. So yeah, I appreciate all the help from everybody.
Well, Christian, congratulations to you with all your Twitch team and your Twitch fam. Not a place that we're uncommon to and strangers to, given the Podium Esports Twitch channel and all. And big thanks for taking the time to talk to us. And we'll see you at Sebring next Friday night.
Yes, sir. That's my home track down here in Florida, so I'm looking forward to Sebring. Thanks, guys.
Home game for Christian Rava next week as we conclude our podium interviews and now turn to one more driver. Taylor Burris has your rookie class winner. That was Kirk Clifford tonight. And Kirk, we'll have the chance to talk with Taylor.
Here with Kirk Clifford, our winner in the rookie class. And Kirk, you had a great race coming home the class win. And tell us how difficult it was negotiating both the lap traffic along with having to deal with the faster cars on the track.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, as the rookies, that's the hardest thing for us. The sportsmen are really fast, and trying to maintain your line when they're coming through is really difficult, especially for people like me who are just starting out with the first year. I think that's the most challenging thing that I find with racing, but it makes it very exciting. And just trying to stay on the track tonight was a challenge for me, especially.
What would you have to say be interesting with the next few rounds ahead? I mean, we have Sebring coming up. What are some of the tracks that you're looking most forward to with the next rounds?
Well, I'm looking forward to Road America because I actually thought we were racing Road America this week instead of Road Atlanta. And so I had practiced that. So I'm a little excited that we actually do get to race that at the end of the year.
Well, Kirk, before we let you go, who helps you race from week to week?
Well, I want to thank my wife who puts up with me doing this and having fun. I definitely want to thank PCA. This has been an amazing experience, and I'm really excited for the growth of the PCA racing. It just is an absolute blast, and I encourage everyone to continue to do it and make it bigger and better.
All right. Well, that was Kurt Clifford, your rookie class winner here tonight at Road Atlanta.
Kurt Clifford wins the rookie class, and it gives us the opportunity to take a break. But don't go anywhere. The pros, the club drivers, the best of the best in PCA Sim Racing will tackle Road Atlanta on the other side of this commercial break. You're watching Series 4 of Porsche Club of America Sim Racing from Road Atlanta, powered by Podium Esports on the iRacing Esports Network.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR PCASRS iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe. For Audie's win here on this outside line. Neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Welcome back to PCA Sim Racing coverage here, powered by Podium Esports on the iRacing Esports Network, where we turn our attention from those who have been pretty successful in the sportsman and the rookie classes to the big show, the main show, the pro and club drivers getting set to take to Road Atlanta for their time on the stage tonight. And no surprise to see Michael Polasek throwing down the fastest time this season. Really, I think has been a revelation for the number 45. He's found speed, but he's found that consistency that we were wondering about all last year. It wasn't necessarily around in 2019, but as we turn the corner to 2020, Michael Polasek's been about as sure a bet as anything in this series today.
He has definitely shown the speed and capabilities compared that we've seen in future past races, and it's only a matter of time to see what he's able to accomplish as the race continues on. So let's see what he can do. But of course, Jason Lisner is definitely going to be one to watch as well. He's definitely been the one who tries to challenge. As we go on board with him, he is the one who has been challenging Michael Polasek pretty much all season, but just has not been able to capitalize on taking home the checkered flag.
We talked about Jason Lisner a little bit. You heard Christian Rava mention Lisner as he goes around over in turn 7. A good time to do that, though. Better now than in the race, I would say. But as Lisner will pull it behind the wall and get another crack at it as we slide to Lee Peterson. But Lisner's a quick one. Christian Rava said he had practiced a lot with him, and I think Rava's taken a few notes from Lisner because Lisner's been one of the fastest drivers in PCA Sim Racing throughout its history.
Yeah, I mean, Lisner's probably has been an amazing talent to watch, along with same drivers such as Lee Peterson, John Malia, who Malia's been on quite a big tear this season as well with a lot of good top 5 finishes. So have to keep an eye and see what they're able to do.
We're right on board with Lee Peterson and let you see what a lap looks like at Road Atlanta from the driver's seat. You take a look at all the elevation changes that we go through and all the sort of whoops and hills you have at Road Atlanta. It's not exactly a flat course by any stretch of the imagination, so we'll take a moment to ride along with Lee Peterson and show you what Road Atlanta looks like.
As we take a look and see what he's doing down through the S's, I mean, it just shows the incredible elevation changes that he has to face. And here they come now up into turn number 4. This difficult corner right here. You have to go over that curve just a little bit, but not too much. Otherwise, you'll end up losing control of the car, as we saw sometimes happening to our sportsmen in rookie class races as they work their way up through turn 5 and 6. A good passing opportunities before they head down the long back straightaway here at Road Atlanta. A good opportunity to try to slipstream, save a little fuel perhaps, and even work their way to try to catch up to their competitors before making the pass to the inside or outside into turn number 10, which is a blind downhill as well as uphill. So you'll see the elevation changes that Lee Peterson will have to go through and negotiate, kind of almost like a big roller coaster pretty much as you're working your way through this entire circuit.
That long back straightaway actually has 2 turns. Turn 8 and turn 9 are there. And it functions a lot like the back straightaway at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Same sort of vibe that I get between those 2 sections of racetrack before you come up to the final section here at Road Atlanta, the double apex, almost 11 and 12. You come down under the Suzuki Bridge and into turn 1, which is a very long apex left-hander that you have to be careful of because you're a bit off camera through there too.
You are, and it's also very blind as well. A lot of things can happen that you can't see before you get to the apex of that corner, as we see Lee Peterson loops it around and hits it, but he does end up getting the P3 position right now with 116.617, about a little shy of 2/10 off the pace of Jason Lisner and about 4/10 off.
Slide our attention around the racetrack. You will jump around a few other drivers taking time here, but Dewey Kang will be the one that we jump on board with. Kang, who is in the championship fight in the club class, who's 4th in points entering tonight, only behind Jake Steinbring, Kenny Brown, and Charlie Young. Did not have a great race at Spa last week. He lost a little bit of ground on the point standings, but is trying to regain it today and maybe get a little bit further up the pylon once again.
It would be great to see what Dewey King can do. Actually, we've had the privilege of sitting down and chatting with him at Daytona back in January during the 24. Very great guy to talk to, and always fun to talk about when it comes to Porsches. I mean, I got to say, when he came up to me with those Coca-Cola Porsche gear, I was pretty impressed and just was like, okay, I want one.
Oh, yeah, no, I think everybody would totally be on board with that one. But yeah, Dewey, I think Dewey might be one of the most enthusiastic drivers in PCA Sim Racing. Always energetic, always up for a good chat to explain just how much fun this series is a part of and how great it is to be in. Doesn't matter whether or not you're chatting through them on PCA's private communication service or just hanging with him in person. Always a great ambassador for this program. And as these cars travel around the racetrack for qualifying, we'll take a moment to bring you back to the Chuck the Duck trivia question that we asked earlier, because it's a fantastic segue into what's coming up here a little bit later this weekend, because we asked you what series held its first ever round here at Road Atlanta in the 2000s. The answer to that question: Formula Drift, the top series of drift racing in the country. And speaking of drift, we have drift action for you on Saturday afternoon, because it is the season finale of the Gaming Drift Series, the top series in one of the best drift series to watch so far as esports goes. A host of teams and a host of drivers all ready to go for that. Lizzie Dabowski, Keenan Kusin, and Ian Plash, our drift team, making sure that you get the best coverage over there, and they'll be at it one more time this Saturday afternoon. Hard to think, Taylor, 16 years of Formula Drift already.
It is amazing, and by far one of the most exciting forms of racing. I mean, they used to even do some Formula Drift not too far from where I currently live, over at the Orlando Speed World, and I gotta say, I never had the chance, but watching some of the action from that circuit, that where we used to race stock cars, is quite impressive.
Ken Gucci is also the man, by the way. We can also throw that one out there, too. Ken Gucci's a great, great dude. As Michael Polasek has the fast time in qualifying. We're still about 2.5 minutes away from the final bell ringing on qualifying and the gridding of the race beginning. And lots of fun I think we're going to have across the board tonight. You got some big names up at the front. John Malley, Vaughn Glaze, James Youth, Christopher Pye is all up there. And how about Shebal Banyopadhyay, who came away with his first podium finish last week at Spa? Really, really big moment for Shebal in his PCA Sim Racing career. How do you follow that up, you would think, with the podium finish? But after what we saw in the Rookie and the Sportsman race, I think that might be a little bit easier said than done for any of the drivers in this field.
It's going to be interesting to see what they can do, and we could see a new mix of characters running inside the top 5, top 10, and maybe even winning the race, just due to the fact of how crazy the lap traffic conditions are here at Road Atlanta. I mean, you're getting around here in about a minute, less than a minute and 20 just about, for most of these pro drivers here, as well as our club drivers. About a minute 16, almost pushing the low or high 115s as well, if you're close enough and we're able to work it properly through the traffic and the course here. So it's going to be interesting to see what we can see these drivers do. And Shabala, I'm really wanting to see him do good and continue that, ride the wave of momentum that he has here.
We turn our attention now to the 47 machine. That's Mark Harris, who comes up through the gears and works his way out of the final corner of the racetrack. Harris, solid stuff over the course of this PCA Sim Racing campaign. Not terribly crazy numbers from Harris, but certainly time to go after it if he wants to. And he's one of the drivers from the Connecticut Valley region of the PCA, which has had strong representation over the course of PCA Sim Racing. That covers all of the state of Connecticut and dips up into Western Massachusetts, Springfield, Massachusetts, home of the Basketball Hall of Fame, amongst other things. Also covered by the Connecticut Valley region of the PCA. So if you live up in that part of the country or that part of the world, Mark Harris might be one you want to watch out for.
Vaughn Glaze still out there trying to get another good qualifying attempt here. He's currently got us the 6th fastest qualifying time with a 1:16.80. Vaughn has shown incredible speed this season. We saw him do extremely well at Virginia International Raceway a few weeks ago, but due to the fact of some mistakes and incidents that happened, he was not able to finish, but definitely has the speed to keep an eye on to be a contender for the podium overall, along with a top 5 finish. You'll have to keep an eye and see what that number 25 911 Porsche RS 991 RSR can do tonight.
Time to bring you the starting grid for tonight's race as we get set for action from Road Atlanta. Michael Polasek will start on the pole with a qualifying time of 1 minute and 16.268 seconds. Then Jason Lisner, Leif Peterson, and Jeff Lewis starting 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th will be John Malia, Vaughn Glaze, James Huth, and Christopher Byes. And Shebal Banyopadhyay rolls off from 9th, and Liam Redzitis at the Upper Canada region begins from 10th.
Matthew Kikis from the Carolina region will be starting in the 11th position with Joshua Vieira in 12th. Jason Stein will be starting in 13th with Greg Carr in 14th. 15th, Charles Yao with Greg Fullwood in 16th position. John Montgomery will be starting in 17th with Antonio McCartney. Shane Patak, Matthew Siddell rounding out 18th through 20th.
21st will be Chris Walsh, and then it'll be Carlos Lopez, Arthur Chan, and Jacob Shum. We start in 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. 25th will be Doug Metzel. Alberto Fonseca starts 26th. 27th will be Lynn Wilson and Kenny Brown. One of the Peach Staters in this race starts 28th. 29th will be Dean Chen, and Mario Gonzalez starts in 30th.
Robert Coy, James Craig, Jordan Dyer, Michelle Levesque, and Jonathan Schum are 31st through 35th, with Ryan Heidenreich in 36th, with Grant Talkie 37th, Jonathan Waltman 38th, Davis Stewart 39th, and rounding out your top 40, Jake Steinbrink.
Dewey Kang starts in 41st. 42nd will be Mark Hugh. Peter Yerxa starts in 43rd, and 44th will be R.E. Moore Jr. 45th will be Jeremy Mazzariello. Robert Cottle starts in 46th. Trip Starkey begins in 47th. 48th will be Brian Mousing. Frank Santori starts 49th. 50th will be Alexander Saduk.
51st goes to Scott McSherry, and rounding out your 52-car field, Marco Harris.
Once again, time for some track facts before we go green flag racing. This is Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. It's a 2.54 mile, 4.088 kilometer course that has 12 turns and plenty of fun, I think, along the way. We race in the morning. It's currently about 9:15 a.m. local time on iRacing Day, May 15th, 2020. Currently, air temp is 67 degrees Fahrenheit, 70 degrees Fahrenheit is your track temp. Winds out of the north at 2 miles an hour, 52% humidity, but more clouds to start this race by comparison to the first one. So we may see the track surface change a little bit as the cloud cover removes itself and the sunshine of the daylight begins to poke through the clouds.
Yep, a little bit more grip is out there on the track with the cooler temperatures, along with that cloud cover. Makes it a little bit easier for these drivers to find grip needed that they will especially have to have when it comes to some of these high-speed areas of the course. But now, once that sun starts to peak out, the temperature begins to rise. It'll start to get a little bit slick and a little bit difficult for these drivers. So we'll have to see who is able to manage their equipment before the race is over, as we already start to see sun peeking out from behind the clouds as they head down the back straightaway.
Sun peeking through the clouds, and potentially one of the biggest races in PCA history, one of the biggest fields in PCA history as the numbers grow week in, week out. We're glad to have you with us as we bring you the final race of the evening. The pros, the club drivers, all here to make things happen. In the pro standings, Polasek has a lead of about 100 points over Jason Lisner and Leif Peterson. So no surprise, those three start 1, 2, 3 in tonight's race. And the club race, it'll be Charlie Yao, Kenny Brown, and Jake Steinbrink that you need to watch, and then Dewey Kang. Those four lead the points. Yao will start not too far away from this group in 15th, but they come down the hill. It's time to go racing at Road Atlanta. We are underway with the final race of the night. Really good jump from Michael Polasek, Leif Peterson, Jason Lisner. May well get stuck in the middle of a three-wide sandwich as Ron Glaze and John Malley are all right there fighting for position.
Jason Lisner did not have a good start here at the start of the race here. He will lose a ton of time and position as he drops back to third place, as now we see Leif Peterson move up to second place. John Malley now moves up to the fourth position as we watch and see what Von Glaze as well as the rest of the field will try to do as they come up through turn number 4.
Already seeing some of these battles start to form. Polasek's got room, but Leif Peterson looking to the inside of Jason Lisner, coming up 2, 6, and 7 near the hairpin. That Road Atlanta double apex hairpin, a little bit bigger, but it's the tightest section on course by far. Great exit out of the course, great exit out of 7 there for Leif Peterson, though. Got about maybe a car length or 2 on Lisner, so that should give him some breathing room at least to the chicane in 10A and 10B.
As they're now working down the back straightaway, now going to turns 8 and turn 9, heading down into turn number 10. We see Leif Peterson about a 2-car length, but not too far behind as Jason Lisner puts the pressure on him into the braking zone of turn 10A and 10B as they come up underneath the Suzuki Bridge through turn 11. That off-camber corner now set up for turn 12, the final corner, and get a big head of steam down the front straightaway. It is still going to be, now we see Michael Polasek pull away from the rest of the field. Leif Peterson second. Jason Lisner tries to battle it out in the third position.
Polasek, then Peterson, then Lisner, then Lewis and Malia, your top 5, then Glaze, Pies, Hugh, Radzitis, and Kikish are separated from the rest of the group to run in the top 10. Peterson, though, and Lisner, and then Lewis and Malia. I think we'll go to Lisner, Lewis, Malia. That's about where you start seeing some of these groups come together as Lewis overshot the corner massively. So Malia takes advantage of that to go to fourth. Here comes Vaughn Glaze, who looks to the inside and got a huge block from Jeff Lewis entering turn 6. Lewis shut the door in his face, and they are just about chopped off a finger or two there with as big as that block was.
That would definitely cause some issues. I'm pretty sure officials are going to take a look at that block. But as they now come out of turn number 6 and now turn 7 and now work their way up through the back straightaway here, we'll see what they can do. Jeff Lewis lost a ton of time after just that one mistake through turn number 4. Just one mistake on the corner costs you that much time on the rest of your competitors as they go through turn 10. We see Vaughn Glaze look to the outside but could not quite make it work as they come up out of turn 10B underneath the Suzuki Bridge. And now we see Vaughn Glaze back off just a little bit as they come out of turn 12.
It's all about Vaughn Glaze, who is all over, and I mean all over everybody up here. But let's not count out what Christopher Pies is doing in the 27 machine. He is keeping Glaze honest because he is all over the rear bumper of that 25 machine as they bounce through the corners. Looks like Pies ran it a little bit too deep into turn 3, so Glaze will get some breathing room and will continue to set his sights on Jeff Lewis in P5.
Don't forget James Houston, that number 12 as well. He's got a good head of steam coming up through as they come out of turn number 4. He's done a great job here. Let's see if he can able to capitalize as we watch that battle between Vaughn Glaze and Jeff Lewis once again through turn 5. And he now tries to crossover maneuver into turn number 7, but can't quite make it work.
Thought about it. Here comes Glaze pushing onward. Chris Pies in the 7th position with all the pressure on the rear bumper of the 25. James Hugh right there. Matthew Kikas, they're all sort of showing out. Jason Stein, Greg Carr, and Liam Rosita's actually pretty close to one another in 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Let's take a look at that battle between those 3 drivers as Jason Stein is not too far up the road from this battle from the 7th on back. But here comes Greg Carr. He's going to take a peek to the inside of him as they come through turn 10. Could not quite make it work, but still holds on as they go underneath the Suzuki Bridge through turn 11 and 12.
Underneath the Suzuki Bridge they go. Big battle between Carr and Stein. This is 10th and 11th. Here comes Stein with the nose to the inside, but he backs off. Doesn't quite want to force the issue just yet, but he'll have time. In the meantime, Jason Lisner all over Leif Peterson to try and wrest away that 2nd position.
Lisner needs to try to find a way to get around Leif Peterson in order to go and challenge Michael Polasek. Polasek has definitely pulled out from the field. About 1.2 seconds separate between him and Leif Peterson as Jason Lisner is putting the needed pressure on the back bumper of that 991 Porsche as they work their way out of turn number 7 and head down the back straightaway.
They continue down the back straightaway. Peterson, Lisner, Malia, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all already a second behind Michael Polasek, though. So the 45 once again jumping out to a pretty good start here at Road Atlanta. Further back, though, here comes Greg Carr looking and trying to hold off Liam, but Leif Peterson now is going to get passed by Jason Lisner going down into the chicane.
A great pass indeed by Jason Lisner in that number 92 991 Porsche as they come out of turn number 12. But Leif Peterson is not done with him yet. He comes down the front straightaway and stays right on the back bumper of that 92 Porsche into turn number 1. But not too far, John Malia has caught up to this pack of cars as they work their way out of turn 1 into turn 2 and then head downhill through turn 3.
Malley is charged up through this group. He's right on the tail of Peterson, and Malley has put about 2 seconds between his car and Jeff Lewis, who currently runs in that 5th spot. Lewis is the head of the train that's got Vaughn Glaze, Chris Pies, and James Hoot did it, and a big move there, a big wiggle from Lewis. If Glaze can nail his exit, he might have the opportunity coming into turn 6 to make the pass on Lewis and get P5.
He's going to try to stick his nose in there, but can't quite make it work this time through turn number 6. He'll now have to wait as they come up to turn 7 and see what he can do, but he has to worry about Chris Pies, who's right on his back bumper, and gets a great run off of turn number 7, down the back straightaway through turn number 8 and 9 as they work their way down the back straightaway. Still, nobody has able to make a pass on him yet as they work their way up into turn 9 and down the hill into turn 10.
Down the hill into turn 10, they come one more time. Lisner, then Peterson, then Malia. Everybody in line for the moment. Not really any attempts at a pass yet as we look a little bit further back through the field, waiting to see if somebody, if anybody's going to make a move coming into the chicane. Nothing yet as all these drivers fan out. Still have 51 cars in the server right now. So not really a lot of room here at Road Atlanta for anybody to escape.
Not yet, really at all, as we see Michael Polasek has actually caught up to one of lap traffic. The first car, he's going to put a lap down. Scott Sherry right now, who gives the position easily. Jason Lisner makes contact with him. Big trouble for our second place driver.
Lisner gets caught up. He finally gets out of the way, but here comes everybody through the mix there. It's a mad scramble to turn 6. John Malley is the one who's come out on top of all of it, but going Glace. Chris Pies make contact, and Glace will go around. Coming out of turn 6, he slides off into the grass, and now is going to have to try and get it righted, but not before all these cars go past. He's finally, I think, got the car going in the right direction one more time, but just wants to make sure that he gets a decently safe re-entry, doesn't get a penalty from race official.
And on lap 5, the mayhem has begun here at Road Atlanta for the pro and club drivers, as we keep an eye to see what happens to Jason Lisner, who will try to get around James Hughes into turn number 10. But let's take a look at that replay.
I think the hardest thing for Lisner is that it was just a really awkward place to catch somebody like that. There's no denying that turn 4 is one of the hardest spots to get out of. Coming up into turn 5, that's the run at the end of the S's up onto the front into turn 6. It's an off-camber corner. It's a corner that you're forced to carry a lot of speed at, and it's very difficult to avoid line traffic if you catch them right in the middle of the apex, which is exactly what Lisner did.
Yeah, and with the damage that he has to that 92 Porsche, it's going to be difficult for him to try to challenge Michael Polasek right now with that. He's going to have a little bit of help here as he now comes back up through turn 4 and sets his sights on Christopher Pies in the 27.
Everybody continues to roll on. Michael Polasek continues to lead this group over John Malia, and then Jeff Lewis and Christopher Pies. Malia, though, is beginning to gain on the 45. It's the first real challenge we've seen tonight as Polasek continues to work the lap traffic, but Malia's got it down to half a second now after Polasek was out in front by about 1.5 before all the mayhem and Lisner broke out.
I wonder if Polasek's trying to be a little bit more cautious with the lap traffic compared to some of the other drivers as they come up through turn 10. Malia with a big head of steam into the braking zone. He will try to carry it off of turn 10B under the Suzuki Bridge through turn 11, but still can't quite make it work. Now we see Polasek have a little bit of open space now, so he'll try to pull that lead out once again.
They continue and push on as best they can here. It is still Michael Polasek, but for how much longer? And how does all that madness and the damage that everybody picked up in it begin to separate these drivers as James Youth is beginning to charge and Matthew Kikis is in hot pursuit?
Well, look at the lap time right now, the last time between Malia and Polasek. Malia ran a 1:16.84 compared to Polasek's 1:17.54. So Malia has got a lot of speed in that Porsche right now. Let's see if he can try to capitalize on that here tonight.
Malia continuing to hang on to the coattails of Polasek at this stage. Lewis and Pies in a good battle. Lisner and Huth in good shape. Kikis, though, right there. And then how about Jason Stein and Greg Carr, who survived everything up front to keep themselves in one piece and continue onward. And it's all good stuff for Stein and Carr at the moment.
Great battle between those two drivers as they are trying to avoid all the mayhem that ensued a few laps ago and continue to work their way up through the top 10. So going to be interesting to see what those two drivers can do here tonight.
Stein and Carr continuing to push on. Ranzitas, then Fullwood in 10th and 11th. And those two have been nose to tail since we dropped the green flag, but putting on a good show always in Ranzitas. We talked about the Upper Canada region earlier. Ranzitas maybe the oldest driver, at least in terms of time at PCA Sim Racing from the UCR. He's got plenty of experience. He ran all 3 series of PCA Sim Racing last year. Fullwood, on the other hand, is for anybody from the first state. He represents the Delaware region of the PCA, and I believe is the only Delaware region participant in this. So if you have any ties to Delaware, if you are a Delaware native, Greg Fullwood very clearly is the driver you need to be cheering on.
Back up to the battle of the race lead, though. John Malia is now 0.2 of a second between him and Polasek. Lap traffic becoming a big factor for Polasek as Malia will try to use the toe to work his way down the back straightaway and try and see if he can get a pass to Michael Polasek. Will he look to the inside into turn number 10? The answer will be yes. Side by side, they will go into turn 10. Malia will be your new race leader, and I think really this is the first time we've seen Polasek struggling here at Road Atlanta.
Malley has been beating him for pace the last few minutes. You see Polisek trying to fire the lights back up just to get in Malia's head, but Malia has been outrunning Polisek the last few laps. Last time by, Malia was a second quicker than Polisek around Road Atlanta, so no surprise then that he jumps on the gas, takes over the race lead. But can Polisek learn a little bit? That, I think, is the big question. Can he sit behind the 690 and maybe pick up a few tricks to improve his own lap time?
That's going to be critical for Polisek to try to see if he can continue his winning streak here in the PCA this season. He has been absolutely dominant here this season and actually wanting to see. And actually, if I remember correctly, he said last week Road Atlanta was not one of his strongest tracks.
Not one of his strongest tracks. Makes me wonder if he's just trying to play coy with it and, I don't know, sandbag his words perhaps, because
possibly.
Certainly no issues that we've seen so far with Malia here at Road Atlanta. A little bit further back, James Huth and Matthew Kikas putting on a pretty good show. Same for Greg Carr, then Jason Stein, Liam Radzitis and Greg Forward there. Leif Peterson, after all that madness, was able to get going and now finds himself in 12th. We turn our attention to the 28 machine of Greg Carr, who sits in the 8th spot in this race. Carr hails from the central New York region, which certainly shares a few neighbors with the metropolitan New York region, but central New York is for proper upstate New Yorkers. Anybody who lives in the strip of the middle of the state, the Finger Lakes, Binghamton, Syracuse, Oswego, Watkins Glen would be a home track for the central New York region. Those drivers all in good form and good shape, and Carr putting on a good performance for everybody in the center of the Empire State, holding off Jason Stein for a top 10 run, but it's been clean and consistent through the opening quarter of tonight's race.
Definitely putting on a great show in that number 28, as he is actually now working his way to try and catch up to Matthew Kikas, who's not too far off the road, about 1.8 seconds now, as he's trying to negotiate through some lap traffic as they head up to turn 6.
Coming up through turn 6, it is all about Carr and Stein, who work their way back around 7, and then here comes 8 and 9, the sort of slide through the back straightaway and through the very Mosport or Canadian Tire Motorsport Park-esque run down to 10 and 11, the chicane that leads you to the Suzuki Bridge here. But also of note, John Malley has not been able to shake Polisek now that Polisek's been able to watch and learn from the 690.
Yeah, currently it's about 0.3 of a second separating the two drivers now as they're working their way up on the front straightaway into turn number 1. Both of them running almost identical lap times, maybe by a few hundredths here or there from the two drivers as they work their way up into turn number 3 and head down the S's.
John Malley, Michael Polisek, Jeff Lewis, Chris Pines, Jason Leisner, your top 5 here. Huth and Kikas have been pretty tight as well. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of a battle from those two yet. They've been within 0.3 of a second pretty much the entirety of this race. And then Carr and Stein as well, also in a good battle of their own for 8. As we turn our attention to Matthew Kikas out of Raleigh, North Carolina. One of the Carolina region drivers, stretches right to the eastern edge of that region, but Kikas carrying the North Carolina state colors on his machine. So if there are any Wolfpack in the house, we'll appreciate seeing Kikas up in the top 10.
As he now works his way down the back straightaway, trying to keep up with James Huth now, who's just up ahead of them, but struggling right now as they go down the back straightaway. Picked up a little bit of speed now as they come through turn number 9 and head down into the downhill section of turn 10A and 10B, and now hard into the braking zone he will go. Kikas trying to get that little extra speed off corner exit to keep up with James Huth, and so far is able to a little bit now as they come underneath the Suzuki Bridge through turn 11 and 12, and with a head of steam, gets a great run off of turn 12 to complete the lap and try to catch up. He's now just about 0.4 separating him and James Huth.
James Huth and Matthew Kikas 6th, 7th. Greg Carr did manage to clear Jason Stein a bit. Stein had some trouble on that last lap, and Carr finally gets some breathing room to lock down the 8th position outright. And Stein has now backed it up in front of Liam Radzitis and Greg Fullwood in the 18 machine. Those three nose to tail going through the S's.
3 cars under a blanket now as they come up to turn number 4. What will he be able to do? Greg Fullwood watches on as he sees Liam Radzitis, Jason Stein come up over the hill and work their way down into turn 5 and 6 into the braking zone. They will go. Stein still has about a 2-car length lead over Liam Radzitis as they come up to turn number 7.
Stein, Rosicas forward right there in a line within a second of one another. They come down the back straightaway. Can Rosicas get the toe coming down through 8 and 9, which are really more kinks than turns. I suppose they just counted to make sure Red Atlanta has a few of them, but big toe here from Rosicas. If he sets this up right, he might have a shot at the chicane.
He's going to give it everything that he's got as they go into turn 10. The answer will be no. He will not be able to make it work this time around as they come through turn 10A and 10B under the Suzuki Bridge through turn 11, and Rosicas will not be able to get around Jason Stein this time around.
Jason Stein hanging on here and doing a nice job of keeping up everything as he calls the San Gabriel Valley region home, and that is east of Los Angeles. Technically speaking, that is precisely the region where you would find Auto Club Speedway in Fontana amongst a lot of the other big cities out there. You sort of roll in and see East LA County in your rearview mirror, San Bernardino right there. If you had a need to sing Route 66, not a bad place to be, I suppose. But Stein, one of the top performing Californians in tonight's race as it stands.
Doing a great job indeed as we watch and see any other small battles going on in the field right now. Polasek has actually dropped it down another 10th between him and John Malia, and actually is going to take a look. Going to try it as they go into turn 10. Not going to this time around. Not close enough to outbreak him into turn 10, but will not have to keep up. Will as he loses a little bit of time underneath the Suzuki Bridge, down to half a second now as they come out of turn number 12.
Very, very impressive stuff from Polasek to adapt and learn, and he's starting to really cut down his own lap times as he follows Malia in hot pursuit. Malia was able to run him down, but Polasek's been able to keep in touch with the 690 throughout this race up to this point. So nice stuff from Polasek to keep his car right there in the mix with things. Meanwhile, Jeff Lewis and Chris Pies right together for third and fourth as Lisner's climb back up to fifth, but still with the damage on that 92 machine.
Yeah, he has a lot to be struggling with right now, Jason Lisner. After that incident, his car is struggling quite a bit as he's even negotiating through lap traffic. So it's going to be a tough call for him to see what he can do as we see through the rest of the field. Chris Pies and Jeff Lewis also struggling through lap traffic.
They all work their way through lap traffic here in the top 10. We'll get the opportunity to take a look at some of the other good battles. How about Jacob Schum and Kenny Brown in this battle for 13th and 14th, all right there. As Schum is there, Brown is there, Doug Metzel is there, Charlie Yao, Vaughn Glace all together. After all the madness, here comes Glace to the outside of Yao, looking for the position, but not quite there just yet.
Have to see what he can do. Jiao doing a great job here tonight, currently running inside the top 16 right now, as he is just trying to get into behind Doug Metzel, who's working his way up around Kenny Brown.
Really good group here once you start with Kenny Brown, but Metzel on the inside. He had a look, then thought better of it, then macked it up. You see all that orange on Kenny Brown's machine. No surprise, because Kenny Brown is another one of the Peach Staters trying to make it happen, but Metzel got a great run out of the chicane underneath the Suzuki Bridge, and Kenny Brown had no chance to defend the spot as Metzel was there, and he nearly got into Kenny Brown and sent him into the wall in the front straightaway. Very close moment there for Kenny Brown, who just hangs on, and now is going to have to hold off Vaughn Glace and Charlie Yao.
That was a grit your teeth kind of moment right there for Kenny Brown. He has to now hold off Vaughn Glace, another hard charger, working his way back up to the field. So it's going to be a close battle that he's still not done with yet.
Everybody continuing to push on and sort through all the madness as Brown got the apex, got the apron, then got the sand, and that will give Vaughn Glace all the opportunity he needed to go to the outside of Kenny Brown and maybe make this pass happen as they make contact, and Glace goes around in turn 6, off into the grass again. Not the first time we've seen an incident like that tonight, but Glace ends up over in the grass, and Kenny Brown maintains his spot. And we're going to talk about drivers who can't catch a break today. Vaughn Glace absolutely belongs in that category.
I could not agree with you more on that. Vaughn Glace has been taken out twice so far in this race, so it's been a struggle for him. Can he catch a break anywhere?
Maybe in the second half of this race, but certainly not in the first. Meanwhile, Lewis and Pies and Lisner had their own little train going as Lisner's managed to gain back up to the 27 and the 927, and he's had some pretty quick laps the last few times by, and now Lisner will start working over Chris Pies to try and retake P4.
Chris Pies is another one of those drivers who's been doing quite well here tonight as he's trying to catch up and keep away from Jason Lisner, allowing him trying to catch up to Jeff P. Lewis, who's worked his way into the top 3. So we'll have to see what he's able to do tonight.
Pies and Liz are still there. James Youth's been very quiet in 6th, about as quiet as you can be, but he's right there on the mix, man. Yukikis, Greg Carr, and then you got the Stein, Rodzitas, Fullwood, Peterson quartet, running through 11th and 12th. Jacob Schumann, Doug Metzel, also in a good battle of their own. That's 13th, 14th. You look a little bit further down, Lynn Wilson and Mark Hughes fighting pretty well. Jonathan Shum is right there, too. Jonathan Wallman and Ryan Heidenreich, also pretty close for position. A lot of good battles as we get back to about 30th, 31st. You got Ari Moore Jr. and Sebal Banyapadia and Robert Cottle in the mix for some action. So good stuff here across the board, but it's all about Malia and Polasek ultimately at the front of this field, and Polasek has not let Malia get away.
No, he has not, and it's been a great battle. I mean, Polasek is just trying to be there towards it in case Malia makes a mistake. Lap traffic is causing a lot of issues for Malia as well, just like Polasek as well. As they come up to turn 6, they're now catching up to some more lap traffic up in turn number 7. Polasek tries to take a peek to the inside, can't make it work this time around, but now will utilize the back straightaway to try to make up some ground.
Malia, Polasek, Lewis, Pies, your top 5. Good stuff, though, between Stein and Rodzitas and Peterson and Fullwood. It's become more 2 pairs of battles as opposed to the 4 that it's been. They nearly got into trouble. There was the lap car there. That was Trip Starkey, who just about cleaned out Jason Stein at the exit of 7.
Close call indeed, as we have another close call battle for the final step of the podium. Lewis and Pies doing battle once again as they come up to turn number 10 underneath the Suzuki Bridge. They will go, but Lewis almost had to watch out for some lap traffic as well.
Lewis almost watched out for some lap traffic. Jason Stein, Leon Rodzitas, Lee Peterson in the mix. Fred Fullwood there, but cars coming down pit road. Michael Polasek, he's come down pit road for service. So the driver running in 2nd. James Youth has come down too. So makes you wonder, will Malia respond? Will Lewis respond as these drivers near the halfway point of tonight's race?
Time will tell this time around. Will John Malia pit? Will he try to get away from some lap traffic, get that clean racetrack in order to try to see if he can pull a gap over Michael Polasek as well as Jeff Lewis? I mean, this is a lot of strategy calls coming into play here tonight. Will they be able to pull it off?
And how on earth will it all shake out for all these drivers? It's all Malia, Lewis, Pies, Kikis, but Malia will have the decision here, and a big one at that. Do you come down and answer Michael Polasek, or do you find a way to stay out, maximize what you've got in your car right now, and maybe wait a little bit before you come down pit road for service?
Well, we'll find out right now, and the answer will be he is going to respond. John Malia to pit road. Let's see what Jeff Lewis and Christopher Pies does. They're not too far behind either. They're just now coming underneath the Suzuki Bridge. Lewis will stay out. Pies will come down pit road. Keek is staying out, along with Greg Carr, who's coming up underneath the bridge. He will stay out. So about 3 other cars around the top 10 will stay out on the racetrack, along with Liam Rodzitas.
So Malia responds to Michael Polasek. I think that might be the big point to make amongst all of this is they begin to bury themselves back in lap traffic. Lewis and Kikis now your leaders in this race. They've assumed the lead and they've stayed out a little bit longer than everybody else. So they'll take over P1 and P2 at least for the next lap or so, and then we'll see who decides to come down pit road afterwards.
Going to be interesting strategy calls we're starting to see in this pro race here, along with the club class as well. So a very good strategy calls. It could work out for some of these drivers. Lewis, I really do want to watch to see if he's able to pull any bit of a gap before with the race leaders such as Polasek and Malia catch back up after the pit stop cycles have been completed.
And where do Malia and Polasek run into this? Incidentally, they're right back on top of each other after pit stops, wildly enough. So pretty crazy, I think, to see these two right on top of one another all the way through. They were within a second of one another coming through pit road as well. So just absolutely dead on even at the peak of all this. But, Polasek would look for the opportunity. He tried to find a way underneath Malia coming out of 7, but didn't quite get it straight just yet. As Lewis and Kikis make the call to come to pit road, Greg Carr is in as well. Liam Rodzitas will stay out and assume the race lead.
Looking to see about other drivers such as Greg Fullwood along with Kenny Brown. Will they come down pit road? The answer will be yes. Charles Yao, Carlos Lopez coming up next. They will make the hard left turn into pit road. But now Michael Polasek has gotten around John Malia. So this will inherit the race lead to him once we see Liam Radzitis come down pit road. So what can Malia do now?
What can Malia do is everybody in the top 10 is now on pit road. And as it continues, I think Lynn Wilson is the first one who stayed out. He was all the way down in about maybe 13th or 14th when he came across the stripe. So Wilson way stretched
way back
towards the end of all this. And he and Radzitis are about the only two that haven't come down pit road yet.
No, they haven't, and Radzitis is coming down the back straightaway, heading towards turn number 10 here. So it's going to be seeing this time around probably him coming down pit road as we're about 2.5 minutes, 2.25 actually, back to the halfway point of this race here as Radzitis is coming up underneath the Suzuki Bridge and will now come down pit road. So let's see how much of time will he be able to gain over Michael Polasek. Polasek is also now on the back straightaway. Not too far behind, though, is John Malia, 4/10 back.
As Polasek has managed to get around Malia, that's the big story here. So Polasek will be the race leader once he gets around and gets past Liam Radzitis. If Radzitis can't make the pit stop in time, and I don't think he will, they're coming down the front straightaway now, and Radzitis has just hit his box. It's about a 20-second stop for everybody else. So Radzitis only about 8 or 9 seconds through his, and it will be Polasek and Malia who take over the lead once again. So that battle, which has been right at the edge of everything all night long. It's been tremendous stuff to watch these two go at it, and should be, I think, for the second half of this race. Lewis now sits in third over Chris Pies, James Huth, and then Matthew Kikas.
I gotta agree. This is probably Malia's best drive that I've seen since calling the PCA. A great performance for that 690 Porsche as he's now all over the back bumper once again of Michael Polasek into turn number 6. He just is about a car length separate the two drivers in turn number 7, and then he gets right on the back bumper off corner exit, but and tries to use momentum to carry him down the back straightaway.
They try, but they just can't get around Michael Polasek. That's the big issue here for all these drivers. But Matthew Kikas has got a pretty good battle of his own. That's the best battle in the top 10, actually, at this stage. Jason Leisner, the 92, that first Settlers region driver out of the Commonwealth of Virginia, now beginning to put the pressure on the North Carolinians. So a bit of an old South battle throughout these two.
A lot of great battles all the way around this racetrack. I mean, it's phenomenal racing that we see here. Meanwhile, back up to the race lead. Malia will take a look to the outside into turn number 1. Now the crossover move, trying to see if he can get a good run on the inside, but Polasek sees it coming and is able to throw the block as they come up to turn number 3. Down the S's, he is just putting the pressure on Polasek to see if Polasek can make a mistake.
No room to breathe if you're Michael Polasek. No room to make any sort of error whatsoever. And I think for his sake, you hope you're just not looking out of the rear of that car, because you look anywhere near the rears and you see that 690 in your mirror, you're not going to be able to breathe, much less survive, I think, in all this.
The more you look back in that rear mirror, the more you talk on that radio, the less speed you'll be able to carry. So he needs to focus on the track ahead of him and try to see if he can pull away. As they look at the lap times right now, Polasek ran at 18:03 compared to Malia's 17.78. So Malia, fastest in the top 5 currently at this time.
At this stage, here he comes to the outside of the chicane into 10A. They will go. He will not have the preferred line going into that chicane, though, and it will still be Polasek who has the lead for the moment as they complete lap 23. And as they complete lap 23, it's time to bring you our second virtual race school race break of the evening, which, of course, is always brought to you by VRS, the official setup provider for PCA Sim Racing. It's also a site that's home to a variety of tools to help you become faster. Learn from the best sim racers in the world, including eNASCAR, Coca-Cola iRacing Series drivers Ray Alfala, Keegan Leahy, and Bobby Zelensky, 3-time iRacing Road Racing World Champion Martin Krumke, and inaugural iRacing Rallycross champion Mitchell Zion, along with other top sim racers. Polasek leads Malia, 23 laps complete at Road Atlanta, 30 minutes to go. Then Lewis Pye is in your top 5. Then it's Matthew Kikas, Jason Leisner, Greg Carr, Leif Peterson, and Liam Radzicic, your top 10.
Currently sitting in 11th is Greg Fullwood, followed by Kenny Brown in 12th. Charles Yao is currently now it's Carlos Lopez sitting in 13th. 14th is Charles Yao. 15th goes to James Craig with Mark Huth in the 16th position. Robert Coy sitting in 17th with Vaughn Glaze. 18th, 19th, Jonathan Chute, and Ryan Heidenreich in 20th.
Vaughn Glaze in the mix as well. Timmy Kane runs in 22nd. 23rd is Jonathan Wallman. David Stewart runs 24th. And 25th is Lynn Wilson. Robert Cottle runs in 26th. 27th is Jake Steinbrink. Antonio McCartney is 28th. 29th is Jeremy Mazzariello. And Doug Metzel runs in 30th.
Peter Xerxes is in 31st with Arthur Chan in 32nd. R.E. Moore Jr. is in 33rd with Jason Stein, 34th. John Montgomery is in the 35th position. 36th, Dean Chen with Trip Starkey in 37th. Brian Mosing is in the 38th position with Joshua Vieira in 39th. And Chris Walsh rounds out your top 40.
41st is Frank Santori. Mark Harris runs in 42nd. 43rd is Mario Gonzalez, and Sebal Banyopadhyay will run in 44th. Alexander Soduke runs in 45th rather. Matthew Siddle runs in 46th. Alberto Fonseca is 47th. 48th is Jordan Dyer. Michel Levesque is 49th, and 50th is Scott McSherry. Grant Talkie, James Patak, and Stephen Kuglieri round out the field. And that concludes our Virtual Racing School Midway Race Break. And for more information on VRS, you can visit them at www.virtualracingschool.com. As Malia continues to look to the outside on Polasek going into the chicane, I think he's going to have to find a way to get to that inside going into 10A. He keeps on setting it up so he's got the inside going to 10B, but you need that line in the braking zone. Malia's going to have to find a way to cross Polasek up, I think.
Yeah, that crossover move he's trying to do with the outside maneuver into turn A exit or entrance is not working for him right now. He needs to try to mix it up a little bit, try to see if he can get Polasek off of his game as they now approach more lap traffic in the S's. Once again, this could be a little bit difficult for Polasek to try to negotiate as they come up to turn number 4. Let's see what Malia can do as they come up there through the section of the course. Coming up through turn 4, right on the apex, over the curb to try to carry that momentum in turn 5.
Dangerous stuff because that's where Jason Lisner caught all that trouble at the beginning of the race. Dean Chen was almost to the way Malia to the outside, but not enough room. He's going to look for the crossover going into 7, but he got himself crossed up. I can see the bobbles in that 690 a little bit, so Polasek carries on and drives off and away from Malia a little bit and opens up the gap to about 4 or 5 tenths of a second.
That is not what John Malia needed as they go down the back straightaway into turn 8 and 9 before they head to turn number 10. He's utilizing the slipstream to try to catch back up to Michael Polasek, but not close enough to make anything work this time around into turn 10. Late into the braking zone, he will go to try to make up time, but there's a car who gets loose in front of him. This could cause issues, and it does not yet, but a close call for Polasek and John Malia as they continue on, and still Polasek will hold the race lead.
David Stewart nearly cost Michael Polasek this race. It was very close between the 914 and all the time that Malia lost in 6 and 7 working the lap traffic that last time by. He got right back because Polasek had to check out to make sure that he didn't clean out Stewart in the middle of the chicane.
That could have taken out both of our top 2 drivers here in tonight's race for that incident if they were to make contact, but thankfully both of them kept good heads-up driving and kept each other safe through that section of the course and now work their way back out of turn 4 and go again.
They continue to work their way through the quasi back straight up into the hairpin. 6 and 7 is where your leaders come through at the moment. And they work their way out of 7 onto the back straight. 8, 9, 10, 11. Meanwhile, Malia right there. He'll get it toe. Can he get the shot down the back straightaway? Can he line it up to the inside of 10A? Polasek is all the way over there to make sure that Malia doesn't have the room, but Malia may well be able to outbrake Polasek going into the chicane anyway. He got such a great run out of the corner. They'll be side by side into the chicane, and Polasek, by virtue of blocking on that inside of 10A, maintains the lead. Malia's got the speed. He just can't find a way around Polasek yet.
Polasek's got to be careful, though, with that line he's taking, especially if he tries to outbrake John Malia and send him into the gravel trap. That could be very dangerous for him if he's not careful.
could be incredibly dangerous, could be incredibly tricky, could be very, very wild. As Polasek, Malia, Lewis, your top three as it stands, and not really too many good battles besides this one amongst the front drivers. It's all Greg Carr, Lee Peterson, Leah Radzitis, and looks like that might be Jacob Schoon who's in the mix here. Oh, big moment though for Radzitis, and he's going to give up some time to one car. I think that might have been Doug Metzel that got around in the lap machine, but Peterson, Carr, Lisner, Kikas, Paz, Lewis and company all chasing Malia and chasing Michael Polasek, who will go down to the inside. I think he's just going to run to the left side every time they come down that back straight for the next 30 minutes.
It's going to be exciting to watch these two battle it out, especially going down the back straightaway into turn 10. Will Malia ever find an opportunity to get to the inside of Polasek? I think if he does, he may get the race lead. But here he goes, back on the outside again. Now he crosses over. Contact, they make contact. Both of them into the barrier, into the gravel track. Unexpected event, but here it happens to both our race leaders.
The race leaders go around. Malia's got the lead, but here comes Jeff Lewis, who takes over as Polasek and Malia get into one another, and Lewis and Pies go 1-2. As I think Malia is going to pull it down pit road. I have no idea where Michael Polasek's landed in all this. We'll see where on earth he comes out after all of this. But Polasek immediately just boxed it, so he's pulled it in. Whether or not he's going to be able to come back out, I don't know, but he pulled it in. But there goes the race for both of those drivers, and Jeff Lewis will take advantage of that as Malia just tried to dive it deep down into today. He got to the inside like I said he needed to, and then all of a sudden they came together, they bounced off the wall. A little bit more contact further back. Chris Pies is there, one car around further back. It's Trip Starkey who's stuck there on the inside. Hopefully he doesn't reverse it and end up causing problems like we had in the first race over in the chicane. But now it's Jeff Lewis and Chris Pies who are 1-2, and James Youth all of a sudden is up to P3 after Malia and Polasek get into it.
Well, in the famous words of Mike Joy, this changes everything, James Pike. As we now see Lewis now starting to pull away from Christopher Pies. A little further back, we have a couple of new players back up into the top 5. Jason Lisner now has worked his way back up, even with that damage. So this could be a good points night for him if he's able to maintain that position or see if he can gain any. But it's going to be difficult with the damaged race car right now, as Matthew Kikas is now in the top 5 as well.
Wild stuff there. The top two drivers all night take each other out and end up costing each other the shot at the win. Although Malia, I think, has to be the instigator on that one. No question. His move to the inside set all that off, but they just kept bouncing off each other in the chicane. Couldn't separate. And I wonder where Polasek's going to land in all this. He's just stuck on pit road. I almost wonder what the frustration is, just going to sit and be done. I don't know if we're going to see him back on the racetrack.
Well, if you think about it, he's won 4 races in a row, and the streak comes to an end here tonight for him. Unfortunate for Michael Polasek, but now we can see what some of these other drivers can do to capitalize on this incident.
Wild stuff. Race Control has informed us that should John Malia head back out onto the racetrack, he will be penalized by Race Control. So Race Control has put that one on Malia and named Polasek a bit of an innocent bystander in all this. But Jeff Lewis all of a sudden now is in control of this race by 3.5 seconds over Chris Pies. So big moment here for Jeff Lewis, who has had good runs here in PCA Sim Racing over the season. But big night maybe for the Potomac region in store. Lewis coming from the Potomac region of the PCA, which covers the Washington, D.C. area. And we could see them in a very strong spot towards the end of this. And then you've got two mainstays of PCA Sim Racing. Chris Pies from the Lone Star region, Houston, Texas, College Station, Texas. If you love the good old Texas Aggies, Chris Pies might be in your wheelhouse. James Youth, the lone standing member out of the Hudson Champlain region in the pro class in PCA Sim Racing that covers the Hudson River Valley, stretches all the way up to the New York State capital of Albany. Matthew Kikas out of the Carolina region. Jason Lisner out of the First Settlers region up towards the front of this field. Greg Carr out of the Central New York region. So a bit of a northeastern flair, I'd say, to all this.
Yeah, very northeastern flair to all these drivers currently up through the field right now. So going to be interesting to see as the laps continue to wind down here as they battle it out here in the south.
We ride along with Leif Peterson, who's charging and trying to catch up to Greg Carr in the 28. That's the best battle now within the top 10 as Carr and Peterson continue on the racetrack. And you have to go all the way back to Mark Huth and Vaughn Gleason, 14th and 15th, to find another battle this close.
Yeah, I mean, so we're going to have to keep an eye on Greg Carr and Leif Peterson right now, along with that battle back in 13th and 14th right now, and see what they can do. But Peterson gets a great run through turn 10 as Carr is caught up through some lap traffic. Now Leif Peterson gets holed up by the lap traffic coming off of turn number 10. He will lose that time to Greg Carr.
Peterson gained all that momentum and all that track position, and then the lap machine got in his way on the exit of the chicane. It's Lynn Wilson that got in front and cost him all the time he earned. So back together, back up and do it one more time again, I guess.
That's all you have to do. You have to continue and keep that momentum. Got to shake off. Keep your emotions in check, especially with some of these lap traffic, because it could cost you. It can cost you time, a position, or even worse, cost you a race here. So you just have to shake it off, continue, and try to find another way to get around this lap traffic.
Jacob Schoon now all off on the front straightaway. That's the 13th place car who lost it coming across the start-finish line and drops to 15th. So Vaughn Gleason, Mark Huth now at the 13th and 14th as Huth continues to keep his sights pinned on the 25 machine just up the road.
Yeah, Vaughn Glace has been still struggling a little bit. He's now back into the top 15, but still has to do a lot of work, though, to get back into the top 10. Has about 6 seconds. It's close pretty much to make up, to work his way back into the top 10. Make it actually 9 seconds as he is now coming into turn number 6, while Kenny Brown, who's in that 10th position, is just halfway down the back straightaway. So a lot of work for Vaughn Glace to do.
A lot of work for Glaze to do. Kenny Brown, I believe, is your leader right now in the club class. As I take a peek at things here and look at the field, and it is indeed Kenny Brown, who I think at some point you had to figure at some stage, Taylor Burris, that the Peach State region, given how big they are on sim racing, remember the Peach State region, how big they are is Brown actually second right now in club class, but in either case, Peach State region, we haven't had a chance to talk about their history in all of this. Peach State region had a gigantic following in sim racing well before PCA Sim Racing did, because the Peach State region had their own league way back in the day that sort of morphed into a support of PCA Sim Racing. They still have their own adventures, but it was the Peach State region that was one of the driving forces behind getting PCA Sim Racing set up in the first place.
It's amazing what this iRacing service can do to try to bring together some of the biggest names in the PCA to come together and enjoy what everyone here who's come to watch enjoy. The love of Porsches on some of the greatest American and international circuits in the world on the iRacing service.
Jeff Lewis continues to roll along in your lead spot as Chris Pies continues to hold down second. Jason Lisner sitting in the fifth spot, though, right behind Matthew Kikis. He's closed the gap on the number 15 machine as they work their way around lap traffic.
I think that's what's helping Jason Lisner right now is all these drivers going through lap traffic. He is able to negotiate that a lot easier compared to some of these other drivers. He's now just poking and prodding, trying to find a way to get around Matthew Kikis as they come out of turn number 7 down the long back straightaway. They will go. Can Lisner capitalize on Kikis even with the damage?
And I think an important one to note as we speak of Matthew Kikis, we see Katie Baker in the chat, and I think a tremendous round of applause to Katie and all the nurses and all the medical professionals that are currently fighting the pandemic across the United States and across the globe, sitting on the front lines of one of the wildest and most dangerous situations I think we've dealt with as a planet in recent memory, and a tremendous amount of credit to all the professionals in the hospitals, the doctors' offices that are working to fight coronavirus, both in the United States and around the rest of the globe.
We can't thank you guys enough. And for everyone who is having to go through this, please be careful out there in this way. It is not safe to just try to stay at home and listen to what the officials say about this. This is something serious, so be safe out there.
Safest way to avoid coronavirus, stay home and watch PCA Sim Racing, I would say, right?
Well, not only just PCA, but also we got a weekend full of other great sim racing action coming up this weekend.
Yes. A tremendous amount of racing coming up over the course of the weekend. Make sure you tune your eyes to NBCSN tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is the virtual Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama from Barber Motorsport Park. We're running the full length at Barber as IndyCar racing gets going, courtesy of iRacing and our friends at NBC Sports. Then Sunday, you've got a whole host of stuff. Saturday night, remember, by the way, on NASCAR social media channels, you'll see the special Saturday night showdown at Bristol featuring drivers from a lot of the NASCAR Root Series, some of the ARCA Menard Series drivers, some of the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series drivers, some of the NASCAR Xfinity drivers will take place and take part in that before the Food City Challenge comes to you from Bristol Motor Speedway for the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. You'll get the green flag for your coverage at 1 p.m. Eastern on your local Fox station, Fox Sports 1, or the Fox Sports app. Then Tuesday night, the doubleheader coming your way. It's the Lee Filter Gutter Protection Replacements iRacing Series from Myrtle Beach Speedway in the Street Stocks. The brainchild of Cup Series spotters TJ Majors and Kevin Hamlin comes to Street Stocks, coming to Myrtle Beach. And I'll just put it this way. After seeing some of the action in the short track challenge that NBC announced midweek at Myrtle Beach, I think we're in for a treat when that race gets going this Tuesday night, April 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern on iRacing Switch, YouTube, and Facebook channels. Likewise, the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro comes to you from Homestead Miami Speedway on April 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/iRacing before we get back at it next Wednesday night with the ERL Premier Series from Bristol Motor Speedway, or Texas Motor Speedway, or no, Bristol Motor Speedway. Goodness gracious, it's been a week. But next Wednesday night, April 8th at 7:40 p.m. Eastern on the ERL Twitch channel.
I gotta say, I mean, with the way how sim racing is, as we still watch this battle for fourth and fifth between Kikas and Lisner, they're gonna go 3 wide into turn 1 almost with some lap traffic. Lisner now moves up to P4 and it will able to hold on, but can Kikas overcome it now as they come up to turn 2 and 3? Lisner still trying to pull away into turn 3 as Kikas goes off.
Kikas goes off and runs off and over the place. Jeff Lewis now rolls off and rolls around here. He's going to maintain his spot, and it's going to be Kikas who slides a little bit further back, and Lisner will take over the 4th spot.
Lisner now back in P4. Can he have anything to, with not enough time left on the clock, about 11 minutes left, can he catch up to James Hughes to get a podium finish? Time will tell. But James, back to the subject of what we've been talking about with all the things going on here with COVID-19 and sim racing here, helping community. I actually had the privilege of talking to a couple of broadcasters in the World of Outlaws, Rick Eichland. He was telling the amazement of how this is able to keep us enjoying racing still. It's going to be interesting to see what can happen once we do get back to racing, how much sim racing will have an effect on people.
And just what sort of room that they will take with sim racing, and just what sort of space sim racing is going to have, I think, in the future here. If there's anything I think we've learned throughout all this, it's that there's plenty of space for racing entertainment and action across the board, and especially during the midweeks, the weeknights here, where you can't necessarily bring the cars to the racetrack in real life. Why not just fire everything up on iRacing? If you just want pure racing entertainment and you're tired of all the shoulder content, the programming, why not?
I could not agree with you more. Turn on either the Podium Esports Network or the iRacing Esports Network or any other esports network that does the iRacing. I mean, you will find any form of racing that you enjoy, whether it be the sports cars that you see here with the Porsche Club of America, IndyCar, Formula One, you name it, we got it.
Exactly. All about Jeff Lewis, though. Chris Bias has cut down that gap a little bit to Jeff Lewis, but it's still about 3 seconds. And now that Kikas has sort of slid out of the way, the next closest battle, how about Jonathan Schumann doing Ken? We'll go back to 18th and 19th. These two both racing pretty tight here, and Kang, one of those drivers up near the top of the point standings for the club division, and really good runs for both of them. Schumann came up from 35th. He runs in 18th. Kang started in 41st and is running the 19th spot.
As he is definitely trying to work his way up through the field in that from the 19th spot and see what he can do. But putting the pressure on Jonathan Schumann as he's coming up through turn number 3. He's going to try to get a good run through there in that brightly colored Porsche 991 RSR as he's now having to hold off Jeff Lewis as he had to make contact. But did Jeff Lewis get through that? Yes, he did. As a car with going backwards back on the track.
Going backwards on the track there. Meanwhile, here comes a whole host of people. It was Ryan Heidenreich, who actually was the one in trouble, who incidentally is right behind Dewey Kang and Jonathan Schum on the pylons. So everybody all over the place. As there goes a little bit of a bump. That's Jeff Lewis himself, who's right in the mix here, trying to get around the lap traffic, giving Jonathan Schum a little bit of a love tap to let him know he's there and let him know to get out of the way so he can get away from all this. Because all of a sudden, Chris Pines is within a second of the race leader.
This changes everything once again as we see Chris Pies now getting a full head of steam with the help of lap traffic to catch back up to Jeff Lewis as they now go into turn number 10. 8.5 minutes are left on the clock here as they come through turn 10. And when we see Christopher Pies now get held up by some lap traffic, and now Schum moves aside to let Pies continue forward.
So Schum gets out of the way, lets Pies roll on, but it's still now down to 1.1 seconds. Incidentally, that's now the closest battle until you get to Charlie Yao and Vaughn Gleason, 10th and 11th. Mark Huth and Carlos Lopez in trouble, who I think does finally get it going. Mark Huth also in trouble there coming into turn 6. So those two with issues in 14th and 13th. Huth with big problems. And now it'll be Jacob Schumann jumps up in 12th, Vaughn Gleason 11th, Charlie Yao in 10th. So now Yao and Glace the closest battle within the top 10, I guess, kind of. Glace within a half second of the 17.
Yeah, so let's see what he can do as Von Glace is now caught up to Charles Yao through turn 10 now as they come up underneath the Suzuki Bridge. Glace, though, slid the tires through coming out of exit of turn 10 and lost a ton of time to Charles Yao.
Did lose a decent amount of time there, about maybe 2.5 tenths of a second as Yao continues to roll on. Glace rolls into P2. Pies is within a second. Getting a little bit tighter now towards the end of this race, down to the final 7.5 minutes of the event. And maybe, just maybe, Chris Pies might have saved something for the very end of this Taylor Burris. What do you do if you're Jeff Lewis to try and hang on?
Try to hang on. Try to pick and choose your battles when trying to get around lap traffic. Do not waste your time. Get around it as quickly as possible. But it looks like he has some open track right now, so he can maybe try to pull a gap. But Christopher Pye is coming at him with a full head of steam as they come up to the S's.
Might need to watch this just in case. But Lewis has had the pace to keep Pines at bay. But if Lewis makes a mistake, Pines will be right there. And that's one that I think you can't totally rule out as Yao and Glace continue to go after it. Jonathan Schum, Dewey Kang still nose to tail here. Jonathan Waltman not terribly far behind this group. Jay Steinberg, Lynn Wilson in a pretty good battle of their own as well.
Yeah, a really great battle indeed. So we'll have to keep track of see what they're able to do as they now work their way down the back straightaway here as we still watch that battle for the race lead.
Everybody continuing to watch Lewis and Pies, but Yao now all in trouble because he's got Vaughn Glace right on his rear bumper, and Vaughn's had plenty of speed, just not a lot of luck, got in some trouble early on in this race. But all right, this battle for 10th and 11th, we've got to turn to it now because Yao's got a rear view mirror full of 25.
Sure does. Charles having to hold off Vaughn Glace once again as they try to get through lap traffic. Up through turn number 4 they will go and still try to hold off as they now go down the straightaway into turn 6.
Yao and Glace continuing to roll on. It's all about what the 17 can do to hold off the 25 machine. So Yao continues to push on. Glace sets up and rolls off and rolls away, but still, he's got Vaughn Glace right at his rear bumper.
Wow. There's a lot of great battles going on all over the racetrack here. Can anyone have anything for these drivers as we still watch that battle for the race lead going on right now?
Vaughn Glace, though, got to the inside of Charlie Yao, made that pass happen easily. He had the speed, just needed the setup to do it. Got to the inside going to 10A, like most of the successful drivers have tonight. Made it look easy. So Vaughn Glace knocks Charlie Yao out of the top 10, and Glace lines up into P10.
Great drive recovery from Vaughn Glace in that number 10 as he works his way up in through turn number 1 and tries to pull away from Charles.
Jeff Lewis still in control of this. Everybody very well spread out amongst the top 10. You have to go back all the way to Julian Wilson and Jake Steinbrink to find another battle within a second in this field. So If you can't sight on Lewis and Pies, slide around a little bit, maybe go see what Jeremy Mazzariello and Antonio McCartney are into as well. Those two actually having a pretty good battle in 22nd and 23rd. Some lap traffic. Well, actually, not lap traffic. That would be Jason Stein, who's in the mix there too. Stein, who's running at 42nd, got into some trouble earlier. So plenty of action, I suppose, between this group as they carry out in the final 5 minutes and change of this race.
Yeah, a great battle in between these two drivers as they now head into the braking zone of turn number 10. And we see Antonio McCartney try to pull away as he gets around Jeremy Mazzariello and sets his sights on Jake Steinbrink, who's not too far up the road from him. Actually, not to make that clear, 6 seconds up the road. So actually, he was able to get around Mazzariello, move into 22nd, and now he's trying to hold on as he is currently 1 lap down.
James Craig, Jacob Shum, Jonathan Shum, incidentally. How hilarious is that? You got father and son running right next to each other as Jeff Lewis puts Jacob a lap down. Jonathan just ahead of Dewey, which is the closest battle within the top 20 outright. Only a half a second between Shum and Kang, or at least Jonathan Shum and Dewey Kang, that is. So that could be a fun one to watch here in the closing stages of the tonight's race. Lewis probably has about 2 more laps here, maybe. It'll be very, very close. We'll see whether or not we get the white flag next time by.
Well, actually, okay. Christopher Pies just now popped back up in my relatives. I was trying to figure out, did something happen to Christopher Pies? But nope, as we look right now, he is still in 2nd place. James Hughes still holding on to that 3rd position. As I try to keep track of listeners, see if he's able to catch back up to James Hughes. The answer will be no, because he is struggling through some lap traffic right now.
They struggle through. Big wiggle there a little bit further back for Jacob Shum, actually. Chris Pies had to check up to just make sure he avoided all that. And Lewis continues to roll on and make sure that he's in good shape. And James Craig now trying to fight Robert Coy here. We've got all sorts of cars, all sorts of traffic. Look at all the mess in front of Jeff Lewis. This is the last thing he needed to see.
This is the last thing he needs to see. He has to definitely try and negotiate this, plus try to worry about trying to keep Christopher Pies behind him as we are closing into about 2 laps left to go in this race.
It is all Jeff Lewis. Is he going to have time to knock out another lap here before he gets the white flag? Indeed, he will. 2 minutes, 10 seconds left on the clock. So 2 laps to go for Jeff Lewis to claim victory and claim his first victory in the PCA Club Pro event here at Road Atlanta.
This is going to be a very exciting for Jeff.
Big contact there for Chris Pies, who just wasn't willing to wait. Ori Moore Jr. got the worst of it as Pies is trying to run down Lewis in the final few bits of this, but he just ran over Ori Moore Jr. and sent him out of the way while he's trying to charge and catch up to Lewis.
Using the chrome horn on a road course in a Porsche? I don't think we usually do that here, but hey, we can do it.
Certainly not a crazy thought here. Makes me wonder if James Craig will get the same treatment if he doesn't get out of the way. That might be the one question you have to ask at this stage, but I think Craig is smart enough to recognize that there's speed in that 27 machine yet, although they're going to drag race here down the main straightaway. Last thing the Pies needs, but Lewis will love to see it because he'll get the white flag this time by.
One more time for Jeff Lewis to come around this circuit, try and negotiate, survive all the lap traffic here as he's working his way up through the field at a turn number 10. For one more time, he has to go through and sets his sight on a few more lap cars.
White flag in the air for Jeff Lewis. One more time around Road Atlanta for him. Chris Pies is now back by about 2 seconds in change, and all the battles largely sorted, save for... How about Jonathan Waldman and Ryan Heidenreich, 17th and 18th on the racetrack?
Heidenreich having a great run tonight. He started way back in the field right now. He's worked his way up through the field, so let's see what he can do before the checkered flag falls here tonight.
As Jeff Lewis continues to push on, Chris Pies rolls on and sets everything up. James Hughes going to be in line for a top 3 finish in an interview a little bit later. Jason Leisner with a good charge back up to 4th. Matthew Kiki sitting in 5th, but all Jeff Lewis. And most importantly, no lap traffic ahead for about 6 or 7 seconds. It's a clear path for Jeff Lewis to victory lane now.
Smooth sailing from here on out as he comes down the back straightaway for the final time into the braking zone of turn number 10. Now he sets himself up and will easily try and coast his way to a victory here at Road Atlanta.
Jeff Lewis down to the chicane one last time. Takes advantage of all the contact between Malia and Polasek midway through this race and never looked back. And Jeff Lewis is going to bring one home for the Potomac region and wins the PCA Club and Pro event. Round 5 of Series 4 at Road Atlanta goes to the 927 over Chris Pies. James Youth comes off the corner to get P3. We turn our attention now to Liam Rositas in the 05, who's the leader in the club class and will be searching for the class victories. He comes through the chicane up the hill.
Liam Rositas finally getting a win here in the PCA class here with the club class. Having a rough week season so far, but now is able to take home a win.
Liam Rositas, your winner in the club class tonight at Road Atlanta in Series 4, Round 5 of PCA Sim Racing. Lewis over Pies and Youth, and big win for Jeff Lewis. I don't think he expected it at the beginning of the night, but he'll certainly take it where they come.
I agree with that.
Coming around one last time, I think, just to get to pit road as all these drivers begin to pull off the racetrack and get everything set up. One more sort of victory lap at full speed. I almost think he just doesn't want Chris Pies to touch him, as Pies will get off the gas and let Jeff Lewis have his moment at the front of the field here.
Great parade lap. We see Jeff Lewis with this, and I got to say, a lot of great performance from a lot of drivers here tonight, and a lot of good comeback drives as well.
Lewis will bring it down pit road, and as he brings it down pit road, we'll take a moment to bring you your full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished this evening. Jeff Lewis comes home in P1 over Christopher Pies, and James Youth rounds out the podium. We'll speak to all three momentarily. Jason Lisner finished in the 4th spot. 5th went to Matthew Kikas. Greg Carr came home in 6th. Liam Rositas won the club class. We'll speak to him shortly as well. He finished in 7th. Greg Fullwood and Kenny Brown round out the club class podium in 8th and 9th. And Vaughn Glace rallied after all that madness in the first lap of Lisner to finish in 10th.
Charles Yao will come home in 11th, with Robert Coy coming home in 12th, the last car on the lead lap. First car one lap down in 13th, Jacob Schum, with James Craig in 14th, 15th, Jonathan Schum, and Dewey Kang 16th, 17th, Ryan Heidenreich, and 18th, Jonathan Waltman, 19th and 20th rounded out by Jake Steinbrink and Antonio McCartney.
Jeremy Mazzarello finished in 21st. 22nd was Lynn Wilson. David Stewart finished in 23rd, and Arthur Chan came home 24th. R.E. Moore Jr. got punted out of the way by Chris Pies in the final few moments of the race, but still managed 25th. 26th went to Robert Connell. John Montgomery finished in 27th. Peter Yerksa finished in 28th. 29th went to Carlos Lopez, and Joshua Vieira finished in 30th.
31st is Chris Walsh, followed by Marco Harrison. 32nd, 33rd, 4th, and 5th go to Mario Gonzalez, Dean Chen, and Frank Santori, while 36 goes to Mark Yu. 37th, 38th, and 39th go to Brian Mosing, Alberto Fonseca, and Alexander Sudok. And rounding out your top 40, your pole sitter, Michael Polasek.
Jason Stein finishes in 41st. 42nd is Leif Peterson. Doug Metzel finished in 43rd, and 44th is John Malia. Trip Starkey finished in the 45th spot. 46th went to Sabal Banyopadjai. It was Matthew Siddle who finished in 47th. 48th went to Scott McSherry. Jordan Dyer finished in 49th, and 50th was Michelle Leves. It's Grant Taki, James Patak, and Stephen Cugliari who finished off the running order tonight at Road Atlanta. And we now turn our attention to Jeff Lewis, who finished off a very solid race and just hung on to the second half of this. And I think that we've got to turn our attention to what happened in the middle of this race between Malia and Polasek, because you were sitting pretty comfortably in the top 5, and then all that breaks out, Jeff, and all of a sudden you're in the lead. What's your thought process, and how'd you handle the pressure in the final half of the race?
To be totally honest with you, that was crazy. I just crested the hill on the backstretch, and I saw what looked like, I think it was Mally to the left, and then all of a sudden they were both off, and I was like, okay, just please have a safe rejoin, and because they're both great drivers, they rejoined safely. And then at that point, it was just stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. And then when I pit, I didn't take enough fuel, so I had to save for the second half of the race.
So you were saving, making sure that you were good, and worried about Chris Pies. So about 5 minutes, he was closing in on you there. Were you nervous within that sort of like 10 to 5 minute window where you weren't sure if you were going to make it? You weren't sure if Pies was going to catch you or not?
Absolutely. I was actually talking to my team there, and I was like, all right, so I took a gallon, not enough. He's catching me. How much do I need to save before I can push it the last couple laps to make sure he doesn't pass? And shout out to my team there. They helped me. It was great. Chris did a fantastic job driving, charging through. It was good stuff.
And to bring it home for the Potomac region, I believe, to my knowledge, you are the first ever winner of a PCA race from the Potomac region. So a little bit of history as well on that front. What's it mean to you to bring it home back to DC for everybody?
Just happy that I could do it for the Potomac region. Great group of people that run there. And I'm just happy that someone was able to represent them with a little bit of pride.
They're not necessarily someone. You can't just call yourself anybody here. You're a PCA race winner, and I know there are a lot of people that make it happen for you, Jeff. So who do you need to thank for making it possible?
I want to first thank my team, Ascari Autosport. Great group of guys, awesome. I want to thank my personal sponsor, Track Monkey Apparel. They've been with me since the beginning, making everything happen for me, helping me out as much as they can. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone. Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Potomac region. Jeff Lewis, you're a PCA race winner. Congratulations. We'll see you in Sebring next Friday night.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy.
Jeff Lewis comes from P1, P2 tonight. Was a PCA Sim Racing who needs to know why he's up here. He should know why he's up here. He finished P2, so of course that means he gets to interview, and tonight he gets to speak with Taylor Burris.
Here with Christopher Pies coming home P2 tonight at Road Atlanta. Chris, tell us about how this crazy race ended for you.
Yeah, it was a bit of an adventure out there, wasn't it? I hope you guys it was fun to watch as it was to drive. I really enjoyed it, but I knew Road Atlanta. I've got a lot of experience in Road Atlanta, both in real life and in sim, and I knew that it's a difficult track. It's a short track, and I knew there was going to be a lot of lap traffic to deal with. So whoever managed it and kept their nose clean, I kind of thought would have a pretty good shot, and that's kind of what my attitude was going in, and it paid off.
Well, with that, what is your thoughts as the rest of the season continues on? Can we see you possibly battle it out for a win here before the season's over?
I'm hoping so. I was trying hard to catch Lewis there at the end, but he was too quick. I mean, hats off to him. He drove great. I was trying to at least give him some pressure and something to think about in his rearview mirror. We had a pretty good fight earlier in the race, and thought I had the pace, but at the end, I think it just caught a couple of lap traffic here and there that was slowed me down enough to where I couldn't quite get up there. But for the rest of the season, I'm just going to keep driving as consistent as I can. I think I've placed third or fourth up until every race prior to this. So consistency is kind of what I'm focusing on. And so far I've been sticking to that.
Well, before we let you go, why don't you go ahead and give a shout out to all the people who help you race from week to week?
I'll just say hi to mom, dad, family, friends, everybody that lets me do this. My racing teams in real life, WTW and Casey Cardin Motorsports, that have let me do this in real life too. So it's been a pleasure, and I'm just living the dream, so to speak.
All right, that's Christopher Pies coming home in P2 for tonight's race. And I believe James Pike has caught up with Mr. James Huth.
Good morning, sir.
From one James to another, who comes in after a P3 run tonight. And wild stuff. You had a pretty good view of the incident there with Jason Lisner at the very beginning of this race. That happened right in front of you. You should take us through what you saw coming out of turn 5 up towards the hairpin and how you managed to navigate your way through that mess.
Well, there was some real heavy traffic, and there was a lot of fast guys, everybody bunched up, and I think somebody got loose, and all I saw was Jason was on one side, Glace was on the other, people were getting sideways, and luckily I really trusted Kikas right in back of me and Chris Pius right in front, and we just backed up and saw things go when they got back into shape. But you really had to show patience. There's a lot of cars, it's a tight circuit, patience pays off.
A lot of patience here, a lot of experience. How much do you feel like all that experience played in your hands tonight? You're one of the most seasoned veterans in all of PCA Sim Racing. I have to believe that all your experience with this helped you now the P3 finish, because it allowed you to have that patience over the course of the hour.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. That's one of the things we're teaching in the classroom is let the race come to you. I had no reason to try to get around people and make risky moves, and take it easy. It's not a season unless I come up here for at least one race and say hi in the broadcast. So I'm glad I got mine in this time.
usually a threat to finish on the podium. So I never worry about you getting in here at some point. But I know you've got a lot of people to thank, a lot of people that make it happen for you, make it possible. So, James, who do you need to send your shout-outs to tonight?
Well, I'm just grateful for everyone. I'm really happy that you guys are back with us for the broadcast. You're just a wonderful team. We enjoy you guys tremendously, and my hat's off to the steering committee. I've seen a lot of the inside action going on, and the people like Jim Hemming and Mike Neiden and Doug Atkinson. Those guys work all day, every day on things so we can come in here and race and have fun. And I tip my hat to them, and I appreciate my wife letting me get into the cave here and do my thing.
James, congratulations on your podium finish tonight. Bring it back to all the folks in the Hudson-Champlain region well, and we'll look forward to seeing you down at Sebring 1 week from tonight.
Indeed. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
James Youth comes home P3 overall. We now turn our attention to a man who's been up here before, but never is a winner. Class winner, club class winner. Liam Rodzitis joins Taylor Burrish.
Here with Liam Rodzitis, your winner in the club class. Liam, welcome to Victory Lane. You were able to take home the victory in the club class at Road Atlanta. Tell us how your race was.
Busy, very busy. There's lots of lap traffic everywhere, often in sizable clumps that made for some very, very interesting moments in that hour.
Well, what was probably the most difficult part with the lap traffic here?
I'm not going to name names, but there was one that we had Leaf, myself, and someone else had racing us at one point, which was beyond scary, but it all worked out for the better, so I'm glad everyone kept it clean.
Well, with that, before we let you go, Liam, tell us who helps you race from week to week.
Well, I have my massive fan base. My grandparents came out to watch tonight. I don't know if my parents were watching, but I think my aunt and uncle and some of their friends were watching tonight. So it was all around a nice, hopefully I put on a good show for them.
All right. That is Liam Rodzitis, your club class winner here at Road Atlanta for the PCA Sim Racing Series.
One more man to talk to tonight, and it is a man who I think has some experience up here in the booth, much like a lot of the drivers tonight, but it's a little bit different this evening, Kenny, just because it's not every day that you get to come and you get to race on home turf here, which is exactly what this is for you and everybody else in the Peach State region of the PCA. We know how much time you put into life at Road Atlanta, not just tonight's race at Road Atlanta. So first and foremost, talk about the importance of running well at your home track.
Well, it's always awesome to run well at home, and I haven't spent a ton of time there, but spent quite, a reasonable amount at Road Atlanta. It's a great course. I'm anxious to. I haven't been back since they have rebuilt the timing tower and stuff, so I need to get over there, and also like to go and hang out and watch the Petit Le Mans.
And how big was it to come away with the podium finish, especially at home? It certainly, I think, has to mean a lot to be so successful here, especially because we know the Peach State region's so involved with this track. When you've got one of the premier motorsports facilities in America on your back doorstep, you can only take advantage of that, right?
Yeah, this was a different race for me. I did terrible in qualifying, started P28, so tried to put my head down and just stay consistent. I still had my obligatory spin in the race. I'm going to get these one day without a spin, but to be able to come through the field and get back on the podium felt pretty good.
Really good stuff for you, Kenny. I know there are a lot of people in Peach State that make PCA Sim Racing possible. And just talk about the significance of sim racing to the Peach State region with the established framework that you guys have had for so long with your own independent league before PCA Sim Racing was a thing at the national level. We talked about it a little bit during the broadcast. Talk about what it's like from someone on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a great group of guys that have set this up that are kind of I'd say the forefathers of it. Andrew Elsom and Mike Neiden, key in everything. Amazing job. And we got Matt Mitchell, I know, who's also helping out with the PCA. So we've got a good support group, and we have a great time. For years we've been doing it, practicing weeknights and doing our little league. So it's been fun to watch it grow, and I'm happy for everybody, and I appreciate definitely all the hard work they put in.
And for all the people that make it happen for you and make it possible, Kenny, who do you need to thank personally for tonight's run?
Yeah, I like to always thank my family, and I think Team LTFB had a good showing tonight. I think they took 1, 2, and 4 in the first race. So it was a great run by them. So I appreciate those. Those guys and I work together a lot. So big shout out to them.
Kenny, congratulations on your podium finish, and we look forward to seeing you next week at Sebring.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great one.
Kenny Brown, P3 tonight in the club class. Taylor Burris, and a lot of stuff here at Road Atlanta. It felt like a big turning point in this series. First time Michael Polisek doesn't win a race this year, though not necessarily of his own doing, but a very big evening, I think, for Jeff Lewis, for the Potomac region in particular. First time they get a win in PCA Sim Racing. Took them until Series 4, but they're finally on top.
Yes, it is a big night indeed for a lot of driven drivers in the PCA Sim Racing Series here tonight. We saw some new faces take up to the top of the leaderboard, and also a lot of interesting things to see what can happen between Lisner and Polisek. The championship battle now has changed once again. Even though Polisek has had a 4-race win streak, just about, this race here where he did not even finish inside the top 20 can be detrimental to points towards the end of the season. All it takes is one bad race to cost you the championship. So it's going to have to see when we go to the next few rounds left in the calendar what can happen. Can Lisner find a way to try and get back up to the front and get a win, or will we see anything for Polisek to capitalize and try to continue a win streak again?
Win streaks, maybe end up restarting at Sebring, but it just depends. We'll just have to see how it pans out as we get set for a whole host of action this weekend here at iRacing, and it starts with the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama from Barber Motorsports Park. IndyCar goes to racing once again, but through iRacing. And we'll have the coverage 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the NBC Sports Network. So check your local TV listing to find out what channel NBCSN is and figure out where you could join us for the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Then we turn our attention to a whole host of stuff on Saturday. The Gaming Drift Series season finale is also on Saturday. That'll be on the Podium Esports Twitch channel. You've got the NASCAR Saturday Night Heat from Bristol. That'll be streamed on NASCAR social media platforms featuring drivers from the Xfinity Series, the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, the Arkham and Orange Series, and more. So you want to check that out. Then, Sunday, the big show. And also of note, I can't forget, we have to mention the Speed 51 Rowdy Energy Super Select Series on Speed 51's Facebook as well. We'll have action from Lucas Oil Raceway there. That'll also be a podium broadcast. So you can say we'll be a little bit busy over the course of the weekend. But Sunday, all eyes are on the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series Food City Challenge from Bristol Motor Speedway. Green flag on coverage will drop at 1 p.m. Eastern, and you'll find that on Fox, Fox Sports 1, and Fox Sports app in the United States. Also available on TSN in Canada and potentially wherever you're watching in the world. But that'll be this Sunday, April 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Then we turn our attention to Tuesday, where you've got two events. You get the Leaf Filter Gutter Production Replacements iRacing Series from Myrtle Beach Speedway in the Street Stocks next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, April 7th. If you want to date on your calendar on iRacing's Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, as TJ Majors and Kevin Hamlin bring you some of the biggest names in racing, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., including Josh Berry, including Josh Williams, and a whole host of other drivers that you'll want to pay attention to. You know a lot of the names. You just haven't seen them have this much fun yet. And then, also alongside that, you've got the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro from Homestead Miami Speedway, which our own Taylor Burris is going to be on the call for. Round 3 of the Road to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series comes at you also at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Podium Esports Twitch channel before we get back to action next Wednesday night with the Esports Racing League Premier Series from Bristol Motor Speedway at 7:40 p.m. Eastern on the ERL Twitch channel. That, of course, Anthony Alfredo's league and brainchild as he brings you some of the best drivers in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series cars. So if you were wanting for racing on iRacing, don't worry. There's plenty of it to go around. Our next race for PCA Sim Racing will come to you next Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, April 10th. We join you from Sebring International Raceway. The main course, the International course, will be the home for round 6 of 8 in Series 4 of PCA Sim Racing. And the broadcast will come to you, as always, right here on the iRacing Esports Network. It's time to wrap up our broadcast tonight, but Before we go, a big thank you to everybody at the Porsche Club of America, to Jim Hemmick, Doug Atkinson, Mike Knight, and the steering committee, for Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports, for our producer tonight, Cisco Scaramuza, and for my colleague, Taylor Burris. I am James Plank, the voice of Podium Esports. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing, and we look forward to seeing you over the course of the next week, wherever you tend to join us here in the world of iRacing. Should be a fun one. Until then, good night.